You know, I like to think I finally have my freedom, like I'm in the era of me. For the first time in my life, I feel like I'm playing with the full deck. I'm about 7 videos deep into this job now, and granted, I got a lot of help the last couple times, but this time it's all me. No more. Now it's just me and you. That's right, you. I'm referring to you inside the camera. But as we move on from the self-proclaimed summer of Ultra, pretty lackluster summer, I really screwed the pooch on that one, as we move into a season that's a little bit more my style, something I'd like to call the autumn of Andrew, because it's just gonna be me, just forever, just you and me as I get into... Okay, now, I normally don't do this, and I cannot do this for long, but I'm worried about the shareholders' bottom line. This new guy has really not lived up to corporate expectations. I mean, no million, not even 100,000. The numbers are down. He has truly failed us. The blonde streaks just really aren't doing it for anyone. They were supposed to be red. We just didn't keep up with it. Regardless, I have decided to call in a few favors, and I think that will help to really pad out this video, so that way you, as the consumer, as the shareholder, will not need to worry about hearing that voice or seeing that face again. At least not for a long while. I'll be back at the next shareholders meeting. I can't explain it, but I feel like I've just been undermined somehow.
We begin in 10 seconds.
Do we all have to adhere to corporate speak now? You know what? I'm only allotted a certain amount of time to be earnestly me, so I'm gonna speak my mind. What are they gonna do? Fire me? You guys are so fucking stupid, you know that? Yeah, I'm talking to you, person inside the camera. Get that camera in on me or I'll move in on the camera. They have conveyor belt slop made perfectly for you. They know what makes you tick. They know how to keep you engaged. They know how to use buzzwords to really get you to click. Words like... Lost Media. In March of 2024, Warner Bros. Announces that they're going to be delisting every Adult Swim game off of Steam. And by announced, I mean people check the dates on the Steam pages, and certain game developers found this out through these tweets from Cartoon News Twitter accounts of questionable reliability. And because of this, following March 2024, Andrew Ultra systematically bought and downloaded every single one of these Adult Swim games listed on Steam in one fell swoop in one large purchase. And now, a year later, feeling a little bit of buyer's remorse, he thought, well, surely I can make this into a business expense. I've actually been marinating on this idea for a while because, as mentioned initially in the first ever Adult Swim video in this new era, where a kid Ultra talked about going downstairs late into the night and logging on. I didn't have an account on anything. Maybe I had a Webkinz account and my password was something Star Wars related, but I don't remember that login, and my mom sold all my Webkinz. AdultSwim.com, and checked the forums, watched some clips, and more importantly, played some Flash games. And I initially wanted to predominantly cover the Flash games because those are the ones I do remember playing. But unfortunately, because they are Flash games, a lot of the games got delisted and are now lost media. You guys like those words, right? Like those two words in that string of motion? The word lost and the word media next to each other. I mean, I do too. I don't know why I'm being cynical about this. I also love it. I think we're all being controlled. And I found out that my plan for this project was way off in a different direction. Adult Swim Games, formerly William Street Games, is a video game publisher. And that's an important distinction because Adult Swim Games, as far as development in-house, only made about 7 or 8 of these 49 games that they distributed. And this company began initially with Flash games on the Adult Swim website. We're gonna be talking about Flash games a lot this year, so strap in for that. I'm sure a small little orphan Ultra played a mess of them, but the one I remember the most is My Little Bastard. Because it wasn't unceremoniously dumped on the website, it was constantly shown off in bumpers and commercials. In the era of the network, I was watching every night. Back in the day, I want to say the 2000s, there were a ton of bumpers that were just showing off the high scores for all of the newest games on AdultSwimGames.com. So everyone had the opportunity to get their name shown on TV, and there was a race to promote your profile or your own website or see what you can get away with on TV. I'm a really big fan of You're Gay by Nick. Either this is the wrong You're, or this is the gay Nick that belongs to me. specifically. And then some of the most popular Flash games were then adopted and enhanced to pseudo-full games. And then in the 2010s, the prospect of creating iOS games, which are basically Flash games but on your iPod, completely killed the entire Flash game market as far as browser games went. I'm like 10 or 11 years old and I have all of YouTube at my little fingertips and I could play Cut the Rope. I'm never going to adultswim.com again. In the 2000s as a whole, it was all about making the best website you could make and thus directing traffic to that site and to whatever you're promoting. But in December 2009, the final nail in the coffin, instead of posting clips directly to their website, or only doing that, Adult Swim created a YouTube channel that they started posting on in 2006. Really getting in on the ground floor. My point being, Adult Swim needed to make a change, and Adult Swim Games was that change. It was the only way to distribute these games to their dedicated audience made by independent creators. But that's like 2010. Adult Swim Games, formerly William Street Games, initially established back in 2004 to publish games like Inuyasha Demon Tournament and Full Metal Alchemist Iron and Flame, which are not actually what we're talking about here. At all. All right, let's start with the first one after that. Aqua Teen Hunger Force Zombie Ninja Pro-Am is, at the end of the day, a golf game. Sure, it's a video game set in the world of Aqua Teen Hunger Force with returning characters and funny moments in the cutscenes and references to the show, but outside of that, it's mostly just golf. Actually, the word mostly doesn't really suffice because it isn't only mostly golf. The game attempts to split the gameplay amongst three modes. And one random Frogger minigame that doesn't appear anywhere else other than the final course. One, which is just good old-fashioned golf. I don't care how many bells and whistles you add, at the end of the day, if the golf ain't mini, I ain't going to the golf. Like, you could play as King Babam all you want or make me swing a Wiimote. It doesn't make a difference to me. Golf is still golf to its core. That's not to say that these courses aren't interesting. Some of them I would even describe as labyrinthian, but in a game where traversal is slow and you can't jump, that isn't always a good thing. And it's strange because the second of the three distinct play modes is racing the frat aliens from season 2 of Aqua Teen Hunger Force in the golf carts. But out of 12 courses, you only end up doing it like 3 times. And on one of the courses, I got so turned around. Sure, the waypoints are on the mini-map, but the markers on screen don't appear until you reach the previous one, and sometimes they just spawn behind you.
Hey, keep your eyes on the road.
But out of everything I experienced in attempting to 100% this game, it's the most fun of the 3. And by 100% the game, I don't mean I got a hole-in-one every time. No, if you couldn't tell, I am colossally dog shit at golf. But every level includes a Brood Witch from season 2 of the show, and these golden film reels which contain cameos. And the game maybe jokingly says that these are clips you have never seen, but these are just clips from the show. The show I have seen. Crazy that there are just straight up episodes on this disc. Like, you can watch them in full. They'll be compressed to shit, but hey, it beats playing golf. Back to my point, if you could use the golf cart whenever, the traversal wouldn't be a problem, but you can only drive the golf cart in the designated golf cart levels. Speaking of levels, I think the appeal of these licensed games, even the shitty ones, is being able to run around the world of that show, platforming in Bikini Bottom, driving around Springfield. But Aqua Teen Hunger Force Zombie Ninja Pro-Am doesn't really have that. I mean, you could play the tutorial level, which is the New Jersey neighborhood, with brown smog filling the frame to really immerse you in that state. But the other levels are more or less just golf courses that could be set in any other game. Like, I know the show has taken the characters to hell or the moon, but that doesn't make it any less bland. You'd think they use this as a level gimmick, like switching the gravity, or at least removing the wind. In one level, you could see the Powerpuff Mall in the distance, which is funny considering that that asset wasn't even made for this show originally, but it's become an iconic landmark. If it sounds like I'm being way too hard on a video game of my favorite cartoon, that's only because we haven't talked about the combat yet. When I first heard anything about this game, it was the premise, the pitch, that this was loosely based on an Atari 7800 game titled Ninja Golf, where the meat of the game was playing golf. As in sending your ball across the course, and in between walking to your ball, you have to fight off enemies in a side-scrolling beat-em-up style. I heard that, and I thought, oh sweet, I've never seen that before. I can't believe everyone said this game was bad. They must not get it. But then, you play it. You play it for 6 hours. So running between the balls, you can switch between 2 characters, Master Shake and Frylock. While they move at the same speed, more or less, Frylock focuses on projectiles and Master Shake can attack with either his golf club or any other weapons you pick up around the golf course. And there are a ton of cool ones conceptually. You could pick up a sword or spray for Carl's crabs or an electric guitar or a chainsaw. And you may hear a chainsaw and think you're gonna see some sick shit like Mortal Kombat and Doom Eternal levels of dismemberment. But no. Every single attack animation with every weapon is a single swing. Some weapons are stronger on different enemies, your cybernetic turkeys, your differently colored Carl's crabs that are in every level, brownie clothes, sentient trees, wrenches, but they're all so fucking obnoxious to fight. Every single one of them, especially when you don't shoot the golf ball very far. You intend to walk a couple feet, but then are stopped by spawning of 8 guys around you. And the golf ball works off of Minecraft sleep rules. You cannot hit the ball until every enemy on your minimap is defeated. And when some of them spawn across the water, or worse, inside the wall collision, and then you have to find a bridge over to those enemies, walk all the way there, hit the attack button, and then walk all the way back to your ball, all while enemies continue to spawn. Or you could play as Frylock. Breaking up the monotony of hacking and slashing at the weaker enemies, some of these courses feature boss fights. Boss fights with health bars. The likes of Carl, MCP Pants, that fucking annoying ass mummy. This is accidentally or otherwise a actual fantastic experiment in immersion, because they somehow made the character that's supposed to be super annoying in the show super annoying in the game. It's like I get it now. Like I am Master Shake. But for projectile heavy fights, you can just switch between characters when you're about to get hit and not sustain any damage. It took me a while to figure that one out. Not to poke holes in this licensed game, but the final boss fight is against the Moonanites, Ignignot and and they combine to shoot their large orange square pellet, and it moves fast. Okay, granted, this isn't that fast, but it's certainly faster than it moves in the show. Is the joke not supposed to be that it moves so slow? And they're used as an obstacle earlier.
See that gust of wind? Now you get a firm grip, and you let her rip. See that gust of wind?
Nothing like golf after a killing spree.
See that gust of wind? Now you get a firm grip, and you let her rip.
Oh, that one could have been better. Wipe that blood off your clubs, boys. It's time to golf.
Now you get a firm grip, and you let her rip.
I actually do kind of like this part. It really goes to show. Golf is only fun when it's mini. Like, the most fun aspects of the game are obstacles and obstructions like this. Most of the time. You could argue that the enemies you have to fight are obstacles and obstructions, but I didn't like fighting them.
I'm number one, baby! Hey, where's that lady with the drink cart?
I will say, for a late 2000s 3D license game set within a 2D animated cartoon, these designs all translate surprisingly well to 3D. Just don't look at the Plutonians. As funny as I find the cybernetic ghost of long-ass name in the commentary booth before each course, it's a shame we don't really get to see him in action. For what it is, it's fine. But what it is a golf game with very archaic combat. And you may say, well, I'm not playing an Aqua Teen game to game. Put up that Coney image, but I guess change all of the text. And that's all well and good. There are some cute interactions and cutscenes between courses. But if you play the game for as long as I have, and as poorly as I have, you tend to notice a lot of repeating.
Wipe that blood off your clubs, boys. It's time to golf. Wipe that blood off your clubs, boys. It's time to golf.
See that gust of wind?
Wipe that blood off your clubs, boys. It's time to golf.
I don't know what I expected, but I may have gotten myself too hyped for a licensed game. We're just so starved for them nowadays. I love Smash Bros, but I'm tired of every cartoon being lumped into a microtransaction and DLC-ridden platform fighter. Somehow SpongeBob has become a more relevant 3D platform mascot than Crash, or Spyro, or Vex. It's pronounced Gex. I'd like to see more of these games, in theory. Just as long as they're not all golf.
Bible Fight. The title is pretty self-explanatory. Have you ever wanted to play Mortal Kombat, but with figures of scripture? Then Bible Fight is the game for you. In the beginning, there was a contest of strength amongst the most prominent figures in scripture to determine the mightiest. The tale of this great rivalry was thought lost forever. Until now, let there be Bible Fight. Created by This Is Pop in 2007 for Adult Swim, Bible Fight was one of the earliest original games for the Adult Swim brand. And for context, they worked with Cartoon Network a bunch, building over 100 games for them, which saw great success. However, when it came to Adult Swim, instead of creating games based upon existing brands and IPs, they wanted original content to sort of mirror the channel. Bible Fight was one of the first ideas pitched, and the rest is history. In the game, there are 7 different characters to choose from: Jesus, Eve, Mary, Moses, Noah, Satan, and even one mystery character. According to the creative director Vincent LaCava, who spoke to Vice, only 2 things were actually cut from this game. The first was actually an attack for Mary, where she unfurled baby Jesus and then brought him back in, because evidently you can't use baby Jesus as a weapon. Second was a winning sequence where Jesus wins and a cross pops up out of the ground and he's crucified, but then breaks the cross.
Harvey Birdman, attorney at law.
If you need legal help, call Harvey Birdman at 1-8...
If there's 2 things that I love, it's Adult Swim and Ace Attorney. Wait, that's not Ace Attorney, that's, So when I found out there was going to be a Harvey Birdman video game coming out in 2007, you can imagine how shocked I was. The answer is not very, because I was neither into Adult Swim nor Ace Attorney when I was 8, but I finally played through it, and do I regret making that choice, or is this a peak video game? Well, let's find out. But first, a brief history lesson, because those are always fun. I'm going to assume that the majority of people watching this know what Harvey Birdman is, but for those of you that don't, it was one of Adult Swim's original shows that continued the trend of taking an established Hanna-Barbera character and repurposing them for a more adult-oriented cartoon that was a completely different format, this time turning the character of Birdman into a lawyer. Not only that, but a bunch of Hanna-Barbera's classic lineup of characters have also been reworked to fit the show, whether that be as part of a court case or as Harvey's co-workers. The Peter Potamus timeline is insane. Bro went from worldwide globetrotter, to sexist lawyer, to Joe Rogan, to weeaboo. Actually, that sounds about right. Now, as for the game, there's actually a weird story behind this one. So in 2005, video game publisher Midway Games signed a deal with Cartoon Network to not only publish games based on Ed, Edd and Eddy, Grim Adventures, and Dexter's Lab, but also some Adult Swim shows, including Aqua Teen, Brack Show, C-Lab, Space Ghost, and of course, Harvey Birdman. Aqua Teen Hunger Force Zombie Ninja Pro-Am released in November of 2007, and right after a small delay of about 3 months, Midway finally released the Harvey Birdman game on PS2, PSP, and Wii in January of 2008. Except for some reason, they used their Japanese name on the startup screen. It really is such a beautiful and complex language. Yeah, so for some reason that I cannot find at all, Midway was actually not the publisher of this game, and instead Capcom published this, along with High Voltage Software developing it, aka the team who developed the Family Guy game. They basically made the Aqua Teen game, supposedly gave the reins to Capcom for Harvey Birdman, and then just flaked on those other games. But enough stalling, let's get into it. For full transparency, I'm playing the PS2 version of this game. I don't own a PSP, but from what I can tell, it's basically the same exact game. But the Wii version is a completely different experience if this one commercial is anything to go by. It seems to be some sort of co-op party game where everyone is sharing one Wiimote. Seems like a wild time. Maybe one day I'll try it. So, the Harvey Birdman video game. Yeah, I mean, I don't know how or why Capcom made this, but I can tell you this was 100% the right call, because this is just Ace Attorney in all but name, and it fits the formula perfectly. Basically, this game is a visual novel adventure game split up into two different mechanics. The first one is court trials, where you listen to witness testimony and either press the dialogue to get more context, or object using evidence gathered from the other mechanic, investigations. Here, you travel from place to place, picking up evidence and talking to various people related to the crime at hand. Investigations makes up the majority of the game's length, and I do enjoy them, for the most part. But like with Ace Attorney, the trials are easily the most entertaining part. You need to line up your logic perfectly in order to take down the culprit, and I think it makes for an overall better game feel. And as if the similarities to Ace Attorney weren't already strong enough, there's so much more it took from the structure alone. There are 5 cases in total. The first case is just a trial. The third case is the worst one in the game. I mean, they're not even trying to hide it at this point. Obviously, this isn't as in-depth or robust as Ace Attorney. After all, this is a budget licensed tie-in game to a cartoon, so the whole thing will take you about 3 to 4 hours to complete if you know what you're doing. But I gotta say, for having such a stigma about it, they actually managed to surprise me with the overall quality of the final product. The most impressive thing right off the bat is that almost the entire game is fully voice acted, something that even the series it was inspired on hasn't accomplished yet. And for the most part, they were able to get back the entire voice cast for the game, and it all sounds like they haven't missed a beat since the show ended in 2007.
Well, everybody, everything's back to normal. And Peanut X, do you have anything to say to me?
Drawing a blank? Something to do with you loaning me your crest?
No, you can thank me for not pressing charges.
Oh, yeah, I guess I could. But I won't!
The game even has bonus content, which again is kinda crazy for a licensed budget game. In each case, there's a secret movie that you can unlock by selecting a certain phrase at some point. These secret movies mostly boil down to clips from the show, but it's something. And we even get a tiny blooper reel. Again, it's only 2 scenes. Wish we got something a bit more substantial, but it's still something. But the main attraction to unlocking these secret movies is that each of them are accompanied by a cutscene that features a character from the Street Fighter series, which is wild to see in a Harvey Birdman video game. Never draw the characters in this style again, my god. Now, this game does show its budget from time to time, and although none of the occurrences are deal breakers, they are still important to highlight. For starters, the animation in the cutscenes looks worse than the show, but not only is that to be expected, it's actually not that much of a downgrade. It's still noticeable, especially when they cut the clips of the show within the game, but they managed to pull through with what they had. Speaking of, this game is really only ever going to appeal to Birdman fans. Like, you're going to get nothing out of this if you've never watched the show. And even if you have, you better have seen every episode and remembered what happened, because they love to pull context from the episodes in the most remember when this happened way. Again, not a deal breaker, but it can get obnoxious at points. Unfortunately, that's not even the worst issue. I mentioned that most of the game is voice acted, and that is true. The only parts that aren't voice acted are the investigation scenes. You might think I have an issue with this, but to be honest, I get it. They really didn't need to have voice acting for what is essentially Harvey's inner dialogue. Plus, you still get fully voice acted cutscenes when talking to people during the investigation scenes. In reality, my issue comes from the choice they made during the trial portions. For context, in Ace Attorney, you can press every statement of a character's testimony, and while not all of them are essential to moving the plot along, each one has its own unique branch of dialogue that, at the very least, keeps the game fresh and entertaining. In the Harvey Birdman game, sometimes pressing a character's statement will get you this, but most of the time, you'll get one of 5 or 6 stock videos of Harvey going, I don't think that's right, or the judge intervening or something like that. And these happen almost all the time, and it is genuinely the most frustrating thing about this whole game. If I hear Mentok say, beware the mind taker one more time, I might take my mind to its early grave, I'm not gonna lie. But honestly, despite me bitching about this game for a bit, do I still enjoy it? Yes, absolutely, I love this game. It combines the snappy Ace Attorney mechanics with the witty and charming dialogue, humor, and characters of Harvey Birdman. Albeit it's not as fast-paced as the show, but that's to be expected from a multi-hour-long video game. It's fun, it's fast, it's got that same Harvey Birdman humor from the show, and despite having the gross dangly parts showcased from time to time, it manages to overcome those issues and become a full package. Haha, package. If you're a fan of Harvey Birdman, and especially if you are a fan of Ace Attorney, I definitely recommend this one. You're going to have a great time. My personal favorite is Case 4. It somehow manages to show its age, with the case sparking from the dangers of pirating music and burning it onto CDs, and yet still be relevant in today's day and age, where a merger threatens to put everyone out of a job. Truly nightmarish times we live in.
You remember my twin brother Bill, who founded 7 & 7 with me? Bill left to found another law firm, and it's a huge success. We've decided to pool our genes to make something larger than either of our parts. Ha ha! Firm growth!
You mean a merger?
No,
Oh, no.
I hate mergers. I mean, yes, that's it exactly.
Oh no. Topical. Topical. And it's terrible. Oh God, the humanity.
Amateur Surgeon 2! It's the sequel to Amateur Surgeon 1, but, you know, that one doesn't count because it wasn't published by Adult Swim Games. Released in 2010 and developed by Mediatonic Games. Wait, why does that sound so familiar? Wait, what the fuck? Okay, anyway. This game takes place a whole whopping 51 years after the original. You play as Dr. Alan Probe. He's the guy from the first game. Forced into retirement under mysterious circumstances. That is until he's approached by the representative of a top secret but very high level patient. But before you get to him, you get to practice on a whole host of colorful characters. You've got your convicts, you've got your clowns, you've got your severely outdated sex worker jokes. Yeah, the humor in this game isn't too outdated, but you definitely have your, you know, generic 2010 type humor. It thankfully doesn't hold the game back too much. These are just kind of minor speed bumps and what are some actually really good bits throughout the entire game. A personal favorite of mine having to be to pull an honest-to-God scarf and rabbit out of the stomach of a clown. The gameplay itself is pretty simple. You ever played Trauma Center? It's like that, except, you know, without devil magic and micro bugs or whatever those games are about. Your objective is really simple. Cut open the patient, figure out what's wrong with them, and don't let them bleed out. To achieve this, you use all kinds of fun household items. Tongs, lighters, a little mini chainsaw. You even get to shock a living creature with a car battery at some point. In preparation, I made sure to play the first Amateur Surgeon just to compare the two. And I gotta say, the gameplay is already a massive upgrade from the first one. The game seems to track your mouse movements a lot better, so there's no bullshit fumbles when you're trying to do everything. There's also the welcome inclusion of an upgrade system that really saved my life when it came to the later and harder missions. I'd say this game's biggest strength is definitely how you feel yourself improve with every single mission. Every single new one really tests how well you know each procedure. What's especially tantalizing to me personally is the fact that you get a letter grade at the end of every mission. So if you're one of those freaks who loves to S-rank every mission in a Sonic game, well then I highly recommend this one for you.
Pizza City exists amongst the pantheon of delivery games, whether you're delivering pizzas to man, delivering man via taxi, or you're Norman Reedus climbing up a vertical mountain with dozens of boxes.
Adult Swim Games brings you a world beyond your wildest imagination. Discover Pizza City. Deliver hot pizzas to a hungry city. Let the navigation challenge you. The fast driving excite you. Running Over Clowns tests you like never before. With over 100 kilobytes of graphics and 4-bit sound, you can almost smell the pepperoni. Play Pizza City, part of the AdultSwim.com game system.
Adult Swim Games.
Pizza City is actually more reminiscent of those early top-down Grand Theft Auto games, and by that I mean the copy of GTA Chinatown Wars I stole from my friend when I was a kid. The premise is simple. You select as many orders on the map as you can carry, and then you deliver those pizzas, from the title, to the locations marked on the map. Mostly delivering them to apartments, houses, ducks. Or is that a goose? I don't actually think I could tell the difference. I was never good at playground games anyway. Not to say that there aren't other mechanics at play. I mean, if the HUD at the top and the bottom of the screen are anything to go by. You accumulate money through tips as you deliver more and more pizzas. You also level up to arbitrary titles that don't really change the gameplay loop at all. Wow. This really is Grand Theft Auto. And therein lies the rub, right? Like, as an adult, for this video, as the man thing playing this game today, sure, I'll deliver the pizzas. I'll even do it with a smile on my face. But had I been given the opportunity, had I played this game, had I even known about Pizza City's existence as a child, I would have gone on a spree. Somebody call the news because this game is making me a violent psychopath. The only punishment for vehicular manslaughter is the cops occasionally pulling you over and then you lose some job security. However, you do get a reverse clown bonus if you kill a clown. Sort of like in real life. I'm telling you, if I'd loaded this up in the computer lab back in the day, this city would have had a population of 1. This is a car's world and pedestrians are just living in it. I won't say it's satisfying to run pedestrians over. I will say though, that they keep running in the street when I'm trying to deliver pizzas. And what's more satisfying than a job well done? And a nice big tip. In this economy, I think the most embarrassing fact about me is that I pay for Dash Pass. I am the final boss of treatlerism. It's become a real problem. Yeah, actually, it's ableist if my delivery driver doesn't grovel at my feet and bark like a dog. Controls-wise, because it's a flash game, it's actually very simple. All you gotta do is use the arrow keys to control your vehicle, which sounds simple. That's probably because it is. But like previously established, there are additional mechanics at play. And I'm not just talking about the car dealership, but although I didn't upgrade my car at all. I'm way too traumatized economically to ever part with my tips. Either you could pay a bunch of money for gas, or you could fit in more deliveries and just pay the tow truck $100 when your car breaks down. That just makes good business sense to me. It will always take you to the closest gas station on the map anyway, so sometimes you can even use the tow truck to take a shortcut to your delivery destination. I don't know what's going on up here, but the second you cross this narrow bridge to the top part of town, the music changes, as does the entire vibe. There are like way more clowns than normal. I mean, 2 doesn't seem like a lot of clowns, but how many do you see on a daily basis? I've never been a car guy, so I don't know if I have the proper words to describe how the controls handle, but it doesn't make me want to rip my hair out. It's got to count for something. Pizza City isn't just utilizing up, down, left, and right. You can swing your car directly into a different direction by rolling the arrow keys. It's slippery, but in a way that fosters free movement, not in a way where your car is doing donuts all by itself. Man. I can't wait for Grand Theft Auto 6. Sorry to all the fans of my June videos, but the second that game drops, I'm taking a month off. I'm not doing anything else. I knew that this game was listed on AdultSwimGames.com, as is proven in the several commercials I found.
You like pizza? You like delivering it at reckless speeds? You like running over clowns? You like getting paid? You like picking up illegal side missions? You like buying better cars? You like crashing into criminals? You like $50 tips? You like getting gas? You like finding an old dude's camera? You like hippies in the woods? You like making a living wage? You like planning out your itinerary for the maximum efficiency? You like low-resolution bosoms? You like getting chased by the cops? You like your life dripping away bit by bit? Play Pizza City. New game on AdultSwim.com.
But the top result every time I look up the name is the game's listing on Newgrounds.com, uploaded September 10th, 2009. Never forget. Sorry, there's an Adult Swim Newgrounds page? Not fake, I'm the game producer for Adult Swim, and we indeed upload 5 Minutes to Kill Yourself today. Tom knows about it. I also posted a confirmation on the Adult Swim message boards with my admin account there, so it's legit. Do we actually know who this is? The game's producer for Adult Swim? I feel like that would give us a lot of insight into the early parts of this video. I don't know if this comment actually answers any of my questions at all. They do have two faves in Momentum Missile Mayhem and Miami Shark. Either they were recruiting Flash champions in real time, or this is just really high praise. I mean, look at how many other games were also listed on Newgrounds, stretching all the way back to 5 minutes to kill yourself. Huh.
5 Minutes to Kill Yourself. Released in April of 2009, 5 Minutes to Kill Yourself was developed by Ham in the Fridge and published by Adult Swim. The game's description reads as follows. Stan is in hell. He lives the day in, day out, workaday life of a cube jockey. A last-minute meeting request pushes him over the edge. As Stan, you wander the office space finding ingenious ways to hurt him until Stan's health is completely drained. He has but 5 minutes. If he can't do it by then, he's doomed to sit through yet another boring meeting. You're Stan's only hope. So yeah, it's up to you to kill Stan before the time is up, or he has to face another meeting at work. There are various items throughout the game to get the job done. Be it stapling yourself, stabbing yourself with scissors, lighting yourself on fire, putting your arm in the paper shredder, or even being attacked by weasels and a shark. There are some items you'll have to combine with others, like picking up the trophy and putting it in the microwave, or combining the lighter with the air canister. The game is pretty simple, and with enough practice, you should be able to get a faster time. It's worth noting that the controls are kinda janky, and they also invert every time you turn. So it can be kinda annoying if you're not fully aware of what you're doing. I remember watching Adult Swim late at night back when the game first came out, and seeing commercials for it. I have fond memories of playing this game back in the day, and it was fun getting to relive it for this video. In the years following the game's release, several sequels would be released. 5 Minutes to Kill Yourself Wedding Day, 5 Minutes to Kill Yourself 2 Family Reunion, 5 Minutes to Kill Yourself Airport Edition, and 5 Minutes to Kill Yourself Reloaded, which was a remake of the original game. All of these can be found easily enough online, so give them a try. They're a good time killer.
Robot Unicorn Attack is the amalgamation of science fiction, mythology, and the crazed minds of creatives at Adult Swim. Throwing in having the central concept centered around cybernetic unicorns, and you have a mobile game hit. Robot Unicorn Attack is an endless runner where you control a robotic unicorn running on floating platforms in the sky. The game is simple enough. There's one button to jump and another to dash. You must dash to get through the crystal stars on the platform in order to increase your score multiplier, but you can also just jump over them. You can also increase your multiplier by collecting the pixies floating around the stages. You get 3 lives or wishes, and your combined score is totaled at the end of all 3 attempts. And typical for most endless runners, the longer you run, the faster you get. Now, in my opinion, even for mobile game standards, the game is pretty bare bones. The same song plays the entire time on loop, and the gameplay loop lacks any real variety. Always by Erasure is the song constantly playing, and although it's not bad, it and the gameplay get old. Imagine myself as a kid playing this game when it came out as a nice little time sink. The game released February 4th, 2010 and received over 1 million plays in its first week. It released on AdultSwim.com as well as on iOS and Android for $2.99. It was developed by Spiritonin Games in conjunction with Adult Swim Games and even received 3 additional versions to the main game. And even Adult Swim themselves considered these cash grabs. They're all just reskins of the original, so if you played the main version, you've played them all, but for the sake of being thorough, I'll cover the alternate versions too. In October of 2010, they released Robot Unicorn Attack Heavy Metal. In this version, the aesthetic is swapped with a hellscape, and instead of wishes, each life is a nightmare. You collect wing skulls instead of pixies, and the backing track is replaced by a heavy metal song. Then on November 23rd of the same year, Robot Unicorn Attack Christmas was released, and it was just more of the same, just Christmas themed across the board. Same deal with Retro Unicorn Attack, released in 2023, but everything is swapped with pixel art. Same game, different coat of paint. However, there is a more unique version of Robot Unicorn Attack called Robot Unicorn Attack Evolution, which released in 2012 on Facebook. In this version, you start out as a unicorn, but after hitting 3 consecutive stars, you transform into a different beast. You go from unicorn to pandacorn, then to lupicorn, which is a wolf-unicorn hybrid, then gorillacorn, then rhinocorn, and the final form is the dragacorn. The transformations alone make this probably the best version of the original Robot Unicorn Attack. And despite how bare bones the game was, at least in my estimation, the critical reception was pretty damn good. Sequel, Robot Unicorn Attack 2. But now isn't the time to talk about that. I promise I'll be back later to discuss that one, so patiently await my return by enjoying the rest of these wonderful creators talk about Adult Swim games.
Give Up Robot is a very peculiar game. Like, I didn't really know what to expect with a title like that, but it gave me a lot of similar vibes to other Flash games from around this time. Stuff like Alien Hominid, Henry Stickmin, or anything that was on Cool Math Games, if anyone remembers that. So the first thing that caught my eye was who developed this game, and it turns out it was created by Maddie Thorson, who, if you're unaware, is the creator of Celeste. Yeah. That was really cool to find out. I had no idea she worked on an Adult Swim game. But to get into the game proper, basically you play as a robot and you need to get to the end of every stage. That's pretty much it. You can move, jump, and use the grapple hook. That's all the moves you have here. Like, while there is some basic platforming, really the game is mostly all about you using the grapple hook to get past obstacles, and I gotta say, it's a really fun mechanic. It's very simple, but it works pretty well. I didn't really have any issues using it. If I were to compare this, it's similar to something like Super Meat Boy. You play a bunch of bite-sized stages, you have infinite lives, and it's also a very hard game. Yeah, this is definitely a pretty challenging game when you get down to it. Like, when you start off, it's not too bad, but as the game goes on, you're definitely gonna need to master that grapple hook by the end. But the thing is, I find the challenge relatively fair. Like, when I made a mistake and failed to time the grapple hook, for instance, it felt like it was my fault and not because of some bad design. It gives a similar vibe to, once again, Super Meat Boy with that challenging but satisfying core gameplay loop. Presentation-wise, I like how cute the little robot sprite is. Just a little head on a wheel. It's adorable. I'm not really a fan of the flashing lights though. Like, honestly, after a bit of playing, it was starting to hurt my eyes with how crazy it was getting. I just think it could have been toned down a little bit. The game is not very long, you could beat it in under a half hour, but you also have hard mode, which has even more challenging stages to go through, so if you thought the main game was too easy, then yeah, give hard mode a shot, it's definitely what you're looking for. I like this game for what it is. It's very short, but for what it's trying to do, I think you could definitely have some fun with it. If you enjoy difficult games like this and you have a big soft spot for Flash games of this era like I do, then yeah, check it out if you can. Give Up Robot 2 is more of the same stuff we saw in the first game, but it's just a big improvement all around. Firstly, the presentation. It looks so much better. There's just way more detail given to the backgrounds and sprites. I love how the backgrounds look, and the sprites just have a lot more character to them. They give the game a lot of personality that I thought was kind of lacking in the first game. The music here is really good. Like, the first game's music was fine, but I just didn't really remember much from it. But in the second game, the tracks go so hard. It's such a good soundtrack. So the core gameplay is still pretty much the same. You're still a little robot and you gotta play a bunch of bite-sized stages. The controls are a huge improvement over the first game. It just feels a lot more fluid compared to what you had before, and the grapple hook feels even better as well. Plus, we got some new features introduced here. We now have collectibles in the form of these coins you can collect throughout the stages, and also it introduces the jetpack, which allows you to burst into the air 3 times. I also feel the level design is really good. It's still very hard, but I still found it a fair challenge like I did in the first game. It's still not a very long game, you could still beat it in under a half hour, but again, if you think the main game was too easy, you still have hard mode as well. There isn't a lot more else I can say about this game that I haven't already gone over with Give Up Robot 1, but between both games, the second one easily clears it. Looks better, sounds better, controls feel a lot more fluid, more interesting level design, and again, it's hard, but it's a good type of hard. But yeah, I had a good time with this one too. It was really interesting to look back at these, especially since if you've played Celeste, you can definitely see some influence from both of the Give Up Robot games with the level design. It's really cool to see. So yeah, if you have a big soft spot for Flash games of this era, this is a pretty fun little duology to check out.
Major Mayhem. What a terrible waste. Hi, I'm Jay Latney. You may remember me from such classic video essays such as The Regular Show Retrospective, or Moral Oral, the best show you've never seen, and of course, Friends.mov. Yeah, I'll be honest, I don't really know what I was doing. While mobile gaming continues to be a massive part of the video game landscape, I think for a lot of people we kind of can't help but feel like mobile gaming is kind of largely filled with a lot of slop. Often the Play Store is filled with asset-flipped Unity games made by one guy to milk as much ad money as possible, and the online ads for these games always have some of the nastiest bullshit alongside it. Like, come on, man. And when you keep downloading games where every other screen tap gives you an unskippable minute-long ad, it gets pretty hard not to miss the mobile gaming golden age of the late 2000s and early 2010s.
But oh no, here comes a diddler, boss!
You had the GOATs like Angry Birds, of which I can do the most perfect Red Angry Bird impression. And if you disagree, please submit your impression to Andrew's business email at videogameandrew.biz. You had Plants vs. Zombies and Clash of Clans, which I can also do a perfect impression of the king, and if you disagree with me, then please submit. And that's not to say that things were perfect before. There was definitely slop, but there's a lot of nostalgia for the early 2010s era of mobile gaming. And I really do think it's because of the fact that I don't think the companies funding and making these games had quite mastered the frankly evil psychological tactics that gets boomers and children to spend as much money as humanly possible. Today, they basically have that shit down to a science. Even in non-mobile gaming today, everything is designed like a casino to just melt your fucking brain. So with that being said, I think Major Mayhem is kind of criminally underrated. Released in 2011 by Rocket Jump Games, no, not the geniuses behind the cinematic masterpiece Video Game High School, but some other guys based in New Zealand or whatever.
Wait in the car! Forever's gonna start tonight!
Inspired by arcade shooters like Time Crisis and 80s action films, we get Major Mayhem, an on-rails cover shooter where you play as this fucking guy and you're trying to save this girl from some vaguely racist enemies like Middle Eastern guy in robes, Asian ninjas wearing straw hats, white guys, and etc, but fuck all that, because none of this matters, because it's all about the shooting. The game is simple. It's literally just jump and shoot, jump and shoot, jump and shoot. But what makes the gameplay loop really addicting is the score multiplier.
Hello, everybody.
You gain combo meter for every shot you hit. You can gain multipliers based on certain actions like reflecting projectiles, shooting people's hats off, or even blowing up a bunch of chickens with another chicken. And while you start off with this dinky little shitty pistol, just airing dudes out while it takes 5 fucking business days for your bullets to hit your target, the progression system allows you to spend in-game coins you obtain throughout the mission to unlock new guns, costumes, power-ups, until you're just fucking killing guys you didn't even know existed off screen with an infinite ammo auto grenade launcher. Like, look at my guy. Tell me I'm not swagged the fuck out. My favorite gun is easily the auto sniper. Because of the gun type, it shoots hit scan bullets instead of projectiles. You could just hit these nasty ass flicks like this. And listen, I get it, it's a mobile game, but I did play the PC port for this video. Yeah, I'm a fraud, I apologize, but it's so satisfying. And unlike the regular sniper, which needs to be reloaded after every shot, you can just let the sniper sing like, god damn. Technically, the best gun in the game is like probably the auto grenade launcher, because it just farms points and kills guys behind cover, and occasionally you have these little hostage rescue moments where you need to avoid shooting the hostages for extra points or power-ups, and the explosives literally do nothing to this guy. Like, look at him. He just eats it. It's like, it's like I'm tickling. Oh shit. But I don't know, the gun kind of just invalidates everything in the game, and you become so overpowered it basically just plays itself, and it gets kind of boring. So you know what? Thank you, Freddie Wong, for your wonderful game. Really looking forward to the next season of Video Game High School, and despite the oddly racial stuff and the game leaking my address, I'm giving Major Mayhem 5 Golden Andrews out of 5.
Lily's Quest.
You look like a discerning individual. How would you like to play a game that has it all? A dashing hero.
Everybody hates you!
What's up, guys? I'm D'Angelo Edwards, host of Heads Off, and I'm here today to talk about the Lily's Quest games, both 1 and 2.
Stop murdering us! Let us pace back and forth in peace!
I have a lot of fond memories of this thing. I had just got broadband back in the day, so if a new Flash game even breathed, I was on it. And that went double for the Adult Swim games. Games have placed you in the roles of larger-than-life characters for decades now. Mario, Sonic, that glove thing, you know the one.
Rock Bottom is presented by Glover. New Nintendo 64, gotta love the glove.
And now, equal to those titans, we have Lily.
The internet's most beloved new hero.
Shut up!
Thank you!
So this is where Cool Spot went after the divorce. LLQ, as those in the know call it, is kind of a mix of 2 games. Braid, the beloved indie darling.
This shit's stupid as hell, man.
And I Wanna Be the Guy, a game that taught me that nothing in this life is fair. Lily's Quest stars our hero Lily. At least I think he is. The general vibe kinda tells me otherwise.
What do you think you're doing, you burglar? Get out of my house!
No, it's not like that.
Sure it is! Get out! Achievement unlocked!
That's cold-blooded.
He's on a mission to save his girlfriend from the evil boss of the game.
I'm not your girlfriend. I'm not even a woman. I just happen to have long eyelashes and like pink.
Ah, sweet, even better. And to do so, he must run, jump, and streak his way to their side.
Dude, what's wrong with you? Why you running around naked, you freak?
This thing plays like your average platformer, but with surprisingly smooth controls. You can really only run and jump, but there's some momentum here, and he can even wall jump. The animation on Lily, simple as it is, really helps add a sense of weight to the character. That being said, while the controls are good, there really isn't much to the gameplay. It's fairly easy and straightforward, but for the 15 minutes it takes to beat this thing, it does the job. The main selling point of this game, though, is the humor.
Okay, fine. I'll stop doing that attack pattern where I go left and then right again while shooting downwards. Does that sound good? Yeah, that'd be great. Thanks.
Achievement unlocked!
Because you're basically the bad guy here, everyone hates you, and they're not afraid to let you know.
Everybody hates you! You're a moron!
None of that is enough to stop Lily, though. He's on a sociopath to success. Finally, a relatable video game character.
It's a bit late. Maybe it's time to head back home.
It's no wonder the game is so funny with who's behind it. This game was made by Rytendo, who was a prominent Newgrounds creator back in the day. I think his most famous game was YOLO, a platformer that you could literally only play once.
Jermaine! Oh my god! Yes, hello. Can you please send an ambulance?
If you died and went back to the game, it would just show news reports about your character's death. He's not the only Newgrounds OG in the game either, with Joshua Tomar providing the voices for all the characters. Nowadays, you might know him more for Oni plays or his anime roles, but back in the day, he was all over the site. But back to Lily's Quest. It's a good time, mocking the platformer collectathon genre with its useless pickups and achievements.
Oh, another shovel, lovely.
The power-ups don't even do anything most of the time.
What the? Where did this goatee come from?
Monsters Ate My Condo. This is easily the weirdest and greatest tile matching game I've ever played. The premise? Simple. You've got a tower of condos, 4 monsters waiting on both sides, and your job is to feed them. Each monster's color corresponds to a condo, so for example, there is a blue unicorn in the game, and you've got to swipe blue condos toward it to keep it happy. Meanwhile, new condos will rain down from the sky, and before long, you're not just feeding monsters, you're chasing combos with red, green, yellow, and blue floors, along with gold, silver, and bronze ones for bonuses. But if you mess up, if you screw this up, man, oh man, if you somehow manage to f this entire game up, these monsters right here will come down on your condo like the hammer of Thor.
The thunder of my vengeance will echo through these corridors like the gust of 1,000 winds!
But who are these destructive little bastards? Well, they've been dubbed Boathead, Reginald Starfire, Mr. Shigoto, and Lord Ferocious. Lovely names. God, if I ever have a kid, I'm definitely naming him after one of these monsters. Yeah, I'm here to pick up my kid from school. Jonathan Reginald Starfire Zero Omens. Anyways, developed by Pickpock and published by Adult Swim Games, the original MAMC dropped on September 15th, 2011 for just 99 cents. And it was a hit. Affordable? Yes. But most importantly, crazy in all of the right ways. I mean, we're talking flashy visuals, chaotic gameplay, and that signature Adult Swim absurdity baked right into it. And the game is pretty simple, but the aura is what really makes MAMC special. Then came the sequel, Super Monsters Ate My Condo, released in 2012. And surprisingly, it wasn't just a cash grab. Good God, I wrote crab instead of grab in my script. Anyways, this was a genuine step up from the original. We're talking better visuals, catchier music, power-ups, crazier mechanics, and combo systems that made the original look tame. If the first game made you say, what the hell am I playing, man? The sequel had you screaming, Lord have mercy, I'm about to bust. Somehow, Pickpock was able to elevate Monsters Ate My Condo to new heights. You know, in a world where a lot of video games are just recycled each and every year, and I'm looking at you, Call of Duty, this game manages to provide some powerful innovations, and that, in my opinion, deserves an applause. Bravo. Fast forward over a decade later, and in April of 2024, Pickpock resurrected the Condo Chaos, trademarked, with Super Monsters Ate My Condo Plus, a full HD remake for Apple Arcade and also iOS and Android devices, which had no ads, no in-app purchases, just pure uncut monster feeding mayhem, updated for modern devices. Look, if there's any takeaway here, it's this. Monsters Ate My Condo and its sequel aren't just puzzle games, they're fever dreams, disguised as puzzle games. They're colorful, chaotic, absurdly addictive, and, dare I say it, condo-tastic. Yeah, that's a word now. Oh, but before I forget, there was technically another sequel to the Monsters Ate My Condo franchise, Monsters Ate My Metropolis. And in this game, rather than feeding monsters condos, you picked your favorite monster, built a deck of cards, and battled other players to destroy the town. It was basically a card game, and it was a pretty interesting concept, but unfortunately, it's no longer available on mobile devices. I never personally got the chance to play it, and sadly I can't really find it online via Flashpoint or any other program, but many people did play it when it was still around, and from what I've seen, they really enjoyed it. In fact, as recently as just a few years ago, people were still commenting on the game's trailer on Adult Swim's YouTube channel, begging for the app to return. Maybe one day it'll make a comeback, but hey, at least we still have Monsters Ate My Condo to keep us busy.
Snoticles is a 2011 iOS game that follows a singular adventure of the Snoticles. These guys, things, creatures? How come they're all called the Snoticles if only this guy is Snot? Did he create the group? Is this like a Mr. Fantastic situation? It would definitely explain the other names. Zit, Dread, Spark, and Snot all come with their own unique abilities. Abilities that really boil down to throwing a thing at another thing. All the footage you see here, and will continue to see every time I specifically cover, was source footage from the Touch Gameplay YouTube channel. I know there's already a lot of channels featured here today, but if you could show them some love, they haven't uploaded in 3 years. I had to use gameplay video from 2011 because this game is gone. Like, there will be other iOS games later that have been archived properly. It's just that every iOS emulator video I could find subconsciously influenced me to want to gamble. But Snoticles isn't backed up anywhere. It's not on the App Store, it's not on Steam, it's not on My Abandonware, it's not on the Internet Archive, it's not on Flashpoint, and it's not on the Lost Media Wiki. Pick up this slack. It isn't listed on any website meant to chronicle every game developed or produced by the developer, Gamillion Studios. Game Alien Studios? I guess Snoticles isn't as prestigious as Crazy Hamster, or Furry Legends, or Academy Checkers. Gamillion Studios seems to specialize in DSiWare games. The DSi acted as sort of a stopgap between the original Nintendo DS and the 3DS. See, there were DS game carts, gray squares, that could play on the DS and the 3DS, and then there were 3DS game carts, white squares with a little lip in it so it could only fit in the new hardware, that would course only play on the 3DS. While most DSiWare games were download only, like a glimpse into the future, there were a small handful of official DSi exclusive game carts, which were white squares with no lip. Gamillion Studios did not make any of those. I just thought I should brought it up. The Snoticles quest is to take out the Blot, which are led by these fascist Blots with the hats. You can't look at that hat and tell me that dude isn't super into fascism. Or alphas. I guess that works too. Seems to be the same online audience. For a game that seems focused on giving these generic mechanics canon names, why do they still refer to the shit you're slinging as Snoticle projectiles, which the Snoticles use to shoot into the Blots, causing a chain reaction of death? These short stages are spread over 5 worlds, each with 10 levels. The early levels introduce the basic member of the team Zit, and thus the player, 2 mechanics in an enclosed space. I could not imagine playing this game for 50 levels. What's interesting about the early age of iOS exclusive games is it was a near direct evolution of browser-based Flash games. See, the Adult Swim games I remember were sight ads on the TV late at night and then sneaking downstairs to the family computer room. Show that Orioles picture. To play Flash games like Amateur Surgeon or My Little Bastard. And when I got a little older, an iPod Touch was placed in my hands by a divine deity, and I was downloading some bullshit. Lightsaber app, Smosh Button, Cooler Than Me by Mike Posner.
You probably think you're cooler than me.
I had moved past the desire to play Red Ball. Now, I'd be playing Jelly Car. It feels as though this part of the timeline is often ignored by those who recount stories of browser games. They didn't just die off overnight. Most of them shifted to the App Store, like Snoticles. As we know from the DSiWare company, this had no plans to be a browser game, I mean, as far as we know. But doesn't it just feel like one? Like, the touching seems so tacked on to what could have been controlled by a mouse pointer. I mean, no wonder. These dudes grit their teeth in the DS minds for years. You know how many games on that console had tacked on touchscreen controls? Man, for an early part in Pokemon Diamond and Pearl's development, they considered doing away with buttons entirely. So yeah, Snoticles is pretty generic. Pretty nothing. Not worth remembering. And for that reason, I must have it. And you may think it's not wise to personally call it the Lost Media community, but I know that there are entire subcategories within the community and dedicated hunts towards iOS games. There's a subreddit all about Charlie the Steak. I know there's some tech whiz out there that can dump the ROM to Snoticles on the internet, so everyone can play it to their heart's content, which mathematically is about 10 levels before getting bored. So I am officially putting out a bounty, a Snoticles bounty. The first person to get Snoticles playable on the computer gets all of Jay Latney's money. Every dollar to his name. Every single cent. That's what you get for trying to get people to send me shit on Twitter. Somebody drew these characters and then they were never seen again. Dread is trapped behind the screen like Turbo from Wreck-It Ralph. Talk about your abandonware. I like Sparks. He's my favorite. No relation to the C-Lab character.
Girls Like Robots. Girls Like Robots is a relatively simple logic puzzle game developed by Pop Cannibal and originally published by Adult Swim on iOS in 2012, with Steam and Wii U releases following a few years later. You play by arranging girls, nerds, and robots in ways that make them all happy. Girls like robots, nerds like robots, and girls hate nerds. Sometimes you choose where the blocks go, and sometimes the game forces you to place certain blocks first. There's a cute little story told through cutscenes between levels. I can imagine if this game were on my iPod Touch in 2012, I would have played it on the school bus as a boredom buster. But for $7 on Steam, with the entirety of my gaming library and the internet at my disposal, it wasn't particularly holding my attention. The art is charming, and I could see the right person being obsessed with this one.
Super Mole Escape has nothing to do with Saul of the Mole Men. Saul of the Mole Men was a live-action mixed media series that first aired on Adult Swim in 2007, premiering the same day as Tim and Eric Awesome's show Great Job, meaning it's technically tied for being the first fully fledged live-action show to air on the late-night block, sort of a sister show to Great Job. Erstwhile, Super Mole Escape debuted on the App Store exclusively on August 9th, 2012. Saul of the Mole Men aired its last episode in 2007. It got one season. I doubt anyone working at Grumpy Face Studios at the time were even aware of the show's existence. I was only recently aware of the show's existence. But imagine my shock when I open up the game and I see cartoon moles and not a live-action man in spandex. Beloved animated characters like Marty, Matilda, and Locked. How could Grumpy Face have known? They were too busy making several iOS games, some of which are original, like Super Mole Escape and Castle Doombad. More on that game later. But then they would earn their stripes as a company that can be trusted with the network's extended IP, making games like The Amazing World of Gumball, Mutant Fridge Mayhem, Regular Show Ghost Toasters, and Adventure Time Game Wizard. Oh, and I also guess they developed the trilogy of Steven Universe iOS games Attack the Light, Save the Light, and Unleash the Light, featuring RPG elements, original music, a story penned by Rebecca Sugar and Ian Jones-Quartey, and also these games are canon to the series. But no. Super Mole Escape is the one I'm talking about. They moles. They escape prison. It's an endless runner, but more so than that, it's Donkey Kong Bonanza. Marty the Mole has big shoes to fill. The games mostly focus on collecting gems and other riches until the freedom-bound mole is caught by the police again. Because it's an endless runner, there is no end in sight. This game is the perfect metaphor for the prison industrial complex. No matter what you do, no matter how hard you fight, you never really get to leave prison. Even if you're outside its walls, you're still stuck there. Let's spin a wheel for more riches. These riches can be used to unlock other prisoners, or buy cosmetics for the already existing mole duo. Wow, can't believe I was right. This is exactly like prison. It's pay to win. Listen, I'm coming back to this game after 19 years. Marty the Mole has been left unattended. This mole better be super ripped or super into the Lord of the Rings books. What crime could these moles have even committed to beget a sentence that lasts forever? Endless runners were nothing new to the App Store, and neither were microtransactions. Your jetpack joyrides, your temple runs, your subway surfers. To think, we could have lived in a timeline where you'd be watching Super Mole Escape footage on top of Sopranos clips or watching glass bottles filled with paint roll downstairs. If only the game wasn't vertical, which I think is sort of ironic. The only thing that sets it apart from its contemporaries was ultimately the thing that did it in. Also, you know, no longer being playable on the App Store helps, I guess. It beats being an Angry Birds clone. Heyo, subscribe for more anti-Snoticle sentiment. Similar to Snoticles, I do really like the designs. I even like the animation from afar. I think I just like cartoons. But unfortunately, these characters that some artists labored over are trapped underground. And also in prison. The whole time I was watching the gameplay, I kept waiting for Peridot to show up and rescue the moles. Or Squareadot? How come she never showed up on the TV? I gave everyone a 10-minute limit for their sections, so this video wouldn't be longer than like 8 hours. I didn't expect for all the sections to be much shorter than that. Some games, there's really not a whole lot to say. So this would normally be the part of my section where I urge you to watch Saul of the Mole Men, but as of writing this, I haven't even seen it. Andrew, put the funniest clip or clips you could find. And if there's nothing after this, either assume that the show is not good, or I forgot to watch it. Listen, it's a busy month.
Burrito Bison Revenge. Burrito Bison Revenge, a sequel to popular online game Burrito Bison, was published by Adult Swim in January of 2012, less than a year after the first game. It's worth noting that the first game was self-published by developer Juicy Beast, not Adult Swim. The game picks up right where the first game ended. In the first game, Burrito Bison is sucked into Candyland while buying groceries. After launching his way through Candyland, he escapes and continues his grocery shopping. In Burrito Bison Revenge, the game starts with Burrito Bison trying to pay for his groceries when he realizes his wallet is missing. So he returns back to Candyland to wreak more havoc and retrieve his wallet. The gameplay consists of launching Burrito Bison across various realms in Candyland, bouncing on gummies along the way. By pressing the spacebar, you can activate your rockets to slam down on the gummies below. Basically, just see how far you can get. You'll lose speed by crashing through walls and hitting the ground, so you need to be careful. Since this is a launcher game, most of your gameplay time will be spent grinding enough in-game currency so that you can progress to the next world. Learning to use your rocket slams effectively and as sparingly as possible is the name of the game here. The further you can get, the more gummies you can crush. And the more gummies you can crush, the more money you can get for upgrades. These upgrades consist of stuff like farther launches, more rocket slams, upgrading your speedometer to go faster, and various other items to make Burrito Bison pummel his way through the gummies in record time. One of the best upgrades in the game you can get is the Pants on Fire upgrade. Pants on Fire allows you to go even faster. Once you're going a certain speed, a red bar at the bottom of your speedometer will start to fill up. Once it's filled, you'll turn into a massive burst of fire. Just pure speed and adrenaline. You can keep the momentum going by smashing the spacebar, and use this ability to send those gummies flying. Another upgrade I want to touch on are the buddies. These 3 sentient food items will grant you certain abilities once unlocked. Time Taco will make the launch meters at the beginning of your run slower and easier to hit. Fuel Fajita will automatically refill one of your rocket slams every so often, and Chili Bomb will give you one final push when your speed gets too low. Throughout the game, you'll encounter various different gummies that will aid you in some way. By hitting the spacebar at the right time, chubby gummies will crush the gummies below them and give you a boost up into the air. Propeller hats will show you a stoplight, and if you hit green all 3 times, you'll get a boost into the air. Aviators have you taking over a gummy's plane, and by hitting the gas canister that appears in the sky, you'll get a big boost. Rocket Riders will take you for a wild ride, and will give you a big boost if you manage to hit the yellow target while riding. Cruisers will give you a lift, and if you press the spacebar fast enough, you can punch the driver to fill up the meter, which will give you a big boost when the car explodes. Lucky Gummies will sail you through the air for a bit, before crashing down on the gummies below, netting you lots of money. Cop Gummies are exactly what they sound like. Other than busting through walls and hitting the ground, these are the biggest way to lose your speed, and if you hit enough of them, they will attack you and your run will end. However, there is a chance of encountering corrupt cops. These cops will have a green light on them, and will give you a rocket slam instead of attacking you. There are also other smaller gummies like item carrying gummies. If you see a gummy carrying a bomb or cash, try to hit them. They'll give you a boost for some cash you can use to buy upgrades. There's also what I'm gonna call the Rocket Gummy. This is different from the Rocket Rider and will give you a burst of speed when you hit them. There are 4 bosses in the game, which the player will face one at a time at the beginning of each launch. These bosses are Chocolate Chunk, a giant monster of a chocolate chip cookie. To defeat him, you must get 10 perfect launches. Defeating him unlocks Brutus, a monstrous gummy. To defeat him, the player must score 20 perfect launches. Defeating Brutus will unlock Cyborg Jawbreaker, an upgraded version of the Jawbreaker boss from the first game. To defeat him, the player needs to score 25 perfect launches. Once you defeat Cyborg Jawbreaker, you'll unlock the final boss of the game, the Berserker. But there's a catch. You can't actually defeat the Berserker. You see, if you manage to score a perfect launch on him, he merely catches you and sends you hurtling into Candyland. So while he is technically the final boss, there is no way to take him down. In addition to the main game, there is also a survival mode. It's exactly what it sounds like, just lasts as long as you can. Unlocking the Pants on Fire ability will make this mode a lot easier, and will help you unlock the final buddy, Chili Bomb, as his unlock requirement is to travel 35,000 meters in survival mode in a single run, which is way more difficult than it sounds. Overall, this game is still as fun today as it was back when it first came out. It's just so damn fun. This was definitely my most played Flash game when I was younger. I loved this game so much. I remember going to my mom's work after school every day, sitting down at the computer, and just playing this for hours, not resting until I had finished everything. Years later, in 2016, a third game, Burrito Bison Lancha Libre, was released for iPhone and Android devices. This game featured 3 separate playable characters, new gummy power-ups, and more. It was the last game in the franchise, and while it doesn't seem like another game will happen at this point, if you want your Burrito Bison fix in the modern day, you can find the game on most mobile devices.
Super House of Dead Ninjas. With a name like that, how could I resist? So this game was launched back in 2013 for Microsoft as a remake of an older free browser game called House of Dead Ninjas. This was all based on a comic that expands on the lore and characters of the game, but you can still play Super without any of that prior knowledge and get by pretty clean. It's a side-scrolling 2D platformer where you play as a ninja whose color can be changed after some upgrading, using a variety of weapons against an even larger variety of enemies. Similar to Minecraft, the pixel style is all aesthetic and has no sway in the game's mechanics, as the actual gameplay is incredibly smooth and fast, and very high energy. Your character zips around the map like butter, and if you're skilled enough, you could flash your way through a level effortlessly. One thing I didn't expect though is that I was absolutely terrible at the game. Oh no, I thought I could jump over them. I was not quick enough. Oh, fuck. What? Fuck. Oh, what the fuck is all this shit? What? Fuck me. Oh, fuck me. Yep, that's fine. That's fine. Oh, this is terrible. Oh god, my pride. It's fine. It's fine. Oh, this fucking monkey. Oh no, what? No! Instant death. Oh god, my rumbly tumbly. Just end me, just strip my life force away and fucking put me out of my misery. What are those things? Oh no! Why, SpongeBob? Game. Why? Skill issue, yeah, I know, but hey, I never said I was the best gamer out there, my friend. Still, it was a ton of fun to play. The controls are addicting and immersive, so it's easy to get lost in them. You start off with a sword, which does the job, but once I upgraded to the whip, that extra bit of increased range was a huge game changer. You can also spam shurikens as fast as you can hit those buttons, but you have to go back and pick them up quickly before they despawn. After that, you're screwed until you can find some more. But that part of the combat was probably my favorite, and as long as you plan things right, retrieving them gets a lot easier. You also get bombs, which in my opinion are the hardest to use, but I did find many times where it was necessary, and they certainly saved my ass quite a bit. Though on the other side, you have to have perfect reaction time to pull off some of these attacks, and the game isn't that forgiving if you mess up. You can easily lose all your hit points in a matter of seconds if you're struggling with an unfamiliar enemy. How did that not do shit? Okay, my shurikens can't do shit, magic doesn't do shit. And when you respawn in the exact same location where you left off with almost no time to recover. Oh, why would I spawn right there? That's not fair. So you have to make sure you're constantly paying attention. You get some special magical attacks too, but I only got the lightning and the fire ones before realizing I was way out of my league with this game. The levels also change every time you lose all of your lives, so you're never playing the same game twice. As for the enemies, the first few juke your expectations from their low difficulty, but then you're immediately introduced to much harder ones, some that will eat your life points for breakfast before you can even blink. And the game doesn't exactly teach you about them either. Every now and then you'll come across a random generator hint, so after a while you can learn just about everything you need, but unless you're looking everything up on some sort of wiki, you're gonna get caught by surprise quite a few times. What the fuck is that thing? Is that good or bad? It's bad. Oh no. It's bad. Another plus though is that most upgrades are automatically equipped and can stack as much as you can hold them. So the more you play, the better your character gets through your achievements. Some of these you even get from dying, which I'm very thankful for. Die 100 times comes easy to you a lot. Can I do? Oh, do I just have that? You can choose your own weapons and skins, but aside from that, you never have to worry about using your new unlockables. The game will do that for you. Activates automatically to slow fall. Okay, so a lot of these things happen automatically. I'm gonna start writing these things down. Oh, and make sure you're looking out for extra time too, because if the timer go out, a much more dangerous enemy appears. No, I missed the time. What is that thing? No! I can't say much about the bosses because they unapologetically kicked my can halfway up the street and back. I was spanked so hard that I knew this wasn't a game I could beat. Didn't even have the courtesy to pull my hair either. Maybe someone better at games than I would have a decent shot at climbing this tower. Death awaits. Thank you for the warning. We're just like, we already know you're gonna fucking suck. Despite all of this, I still had a lot of fun with the game. I didn't really mind losing that much because the gameplay itself surely makes up for it. It's fun to zip around as a ninja. So if you're a casual like me, but you have the time and patience, the game can entertain you for hours on end. Maybe I'll give that comic a read too. The art style is pretty neat. Anyways, I'm done yapping. Keep it busy for now, folks.
Super Puzzle Platformer Deluxe, developed by Andrew Morrish, is a falling block puzzle game, a platformer, and a shooter all rolled into one. Oh! You're this cute little block guy with an unregistered firearm dropped into this puzzle field where blocks rain from the sky like Tetris. Whoa! Oh my god. You gotta shoot them, and when one breaks, every block of the same color connected to it also breaks. Baby. You also need to avoid getting crushed by the landing blocks, landing on a spike block, or getting blown up by an explosive. Oh, my leg! The game is already pretty hectic, but once you start to go up in levels, things start to get stupid. I never thought I'd be literally sweating from Tetris, but this changed it all for me. Fist Puncher, developed by Team 2-Bit, is one of the goofiest games I've seen in my life. On the surface, right, it's just a basic retro side-scroller beat-em-up. You punch enemies, you gain XP, you level up your characters. But because Adult Swim wanted more games to have on Steam, this game was aiming to have that Adult Swim vibe of humor. So you can go from one level where you're beating up a motorcycle gang to an insanely bloodthirsty strip club that ends with a boss fight of a giant cross-dressing stripper called Hammer. You can also see the game's personality in the characters that you can play as that you unlock when you defeat bosses. Looking at just a few of them, there's Dr. Karate, Steroid Jackson, who looks like if Steve Harvey started juicing. Chairman Kadoshin is probably my favorite because he just refuses to leave his PC chair. The world is huge, it's got more than 50 levels with a bunch of goofy ass bosses, but although it does start to feel kind of tedious and samey once you get into it, with the combat boiling down to just spamming punch and jumping until you win or get folded by some boss's overpowered ability.
Amateur Surgeon 3. I didn't play it. Yeah, despite all my best efforts, I just couldn't find this game playable anywhere. I kind of tried everything. It wasn't on Flashpoint. I looked on some shady websites. I even consulted the dark arts. The unfortunate news is just it's totally basically lost. It was an iOS app that I don't believe you can download anymore. I mean, I don't own an iPhone, so I didn't bother to check. But I'm thankfully gonna still try and do my job to talk about this game, despite how little hands-on experience I have with it. By the way, the gameplay I'm using in the background is courtesy of this guy. So, thanks to him for uploading a full playthrough, or else this segment would not be possible in any way. The story this time around, I'm not gonna lie, is kind of too complicated to get into. The long and short of it is that you play as the grandniece of Dr. Igneous Bleed. He's the guy who teaches you to be a surgeon in the first one. Alan takes a bit more of a supporting role this time. He's the one who gives you missions to test your skills and all that. Also, despite being the third game in the franchise, it actually takes place after 1, but before 2. Hopefully that's as complicated as it gets, or else you're in danger of reaching critical mass FNAF timeline shenanigans. The rest is frankly just excuses to lead you to cool new locations with cool new patients. It's not necessarily a bad thing. The variety in this game is actually kind of astounding. I couldn't find anything on the development of this game, but I'd believe it if they thought this was going to be the last one. They pushed the whole concept of, you know, operating on wacky characters and push it to its absolute breaking point. Just to give you a general idea of just how insane this game goes, I'm going to give you a few examples I really, really enjoy. There's the man who turns himself into a huge, horrific bug. The game implies this isn't the first time it's happened. A huge mutant alligator and bear, one right after the other. A haunted chastity belt put on a woman by a cult. I joked about devil magic in Trauma Center last time, and then it just came true. You even do surgery on an organ. Not the body part, the instrument. Just a big organ. My favorite has to be, though, when you give gender reassignment surgery to a robot. And trust me, I get it. You hear that and you hear game from 2013, you're like, oh no, here we go. But trust me, it's actually really great. Like, it's genuinely played so respectfully, and he's so happy by the end. Welcome to the club, King. The gameplay seems to have stayed relatively the same, except for a few minor tweaks. There's an actual point system this time that measures how well you do certain moves. The motion tracking also looks like it's vastly improved over the others. I'm sure being on a touchscreen really helps. The biggest new inclusion has to be where this game gets its namesake. There's an entire new tag-in buddy system. You basically pick from a small roster of characters, each coming with their own special ability to help during operations. It's just general quality of life stuff. Some of them heal, some of them stop the timer for a little bit. It's just a generally useful and welcome inclusion. It makes me genuinely sad that this game is basically unplayable now. I hope it's just my general incompetence when it comes to pirating games, but if this game is lost forever and isn't able to be played, then that's a genuine letdown. It basically takes everything good about the series and, again, cranks it up to 11 to make a really fun looking experience. Maybe when the lost media community is done finding every pilot to every baby show, then they can get started on looking for this one. That's so mean.
Volgarr the Viking is not a title that I had previous familiarity with, but I do think it gave me what I expected when I actually sat down to play it. It's a side-scrolling platformer that follows closer in step with its predecessors from the 80s. Rastan is brought up a lot. I detect some similarities here. But from what I gather, this game is most well known for its difficulty, mainly due to that influence. And making the relevant comparisons, it was interesting to see how this style of game from this specific time period was reinterpreted. I'm not gonna lie, I don't think any of my footage is very interesting to watch. I ate shit so many times, it's not even funny. I think once I got like 2-3 hours into the experience, I actually got into a groove, and by that point, I wasn't even recording anymore. And yeah, it seems pretty difficult. Not like I'm a master of the genre in this regard. I enjoy a little bit of Rayman every blue moon. And something like this isn't necessarily outside of my depth, but this is decidedly not that. Personally, I think Volgarr actually involves more memorization skills than anything. Like, it's gonna feel repetitive for a while, but once you actually dedicate yourself to pushing ahead, you will gain ground eventually. You remember that one game that everyone was playing for a while, with that dude stuck in like the cauldron who was trying to climb up all these various obstacles with a sledgehammer or something? Yeah, it's kind of like that, except you don't got a bitch in your ear telling you it's all really philosophical and shit. The more times I played it, the more engaged I was with it, and I don't think that came from a sense of investment. Again, I died a lot, even when I reached a certain checkpoint. It didn't necessarily feel like the achievement of the century, but it is definitely something that grows on you as time goes on. Soundodger Plus is pretty self-explanatory. You turn on the game, you jump into a new level, listen to the song, and then you dodge the bullets accordingly. Apparently this specific installment was just the second out of 4 games, this one mainly being a re-release of the original, which was not published by Adult Swim Games, but was featured on their website at one point. I'm kind of surprised I didn't notice this one at all, but I was very deep into the 5 minutes to kill yourself grind, admittedly. This one is pretty engaging. It's very easy to get wrapped up in the patterning of the bullets themselves. You're almost not paying attention to how you go about dodging them. It's an interesting, varied mix of music here. The labeling of difficulty level to level seemed pretty appropriate. I wouldn't say that I'm the greatest at this style of game, but I did find it to be pretty forgiving, pretty challenging, and that didn't detract from the fun for me, which is great. I imagine a timeline where perhaps this was cooked up by one of the bigger studios, and it falls in the way of like the Lego franchise or something, where every other iteration of it is just utilizing another IP. I mean, you can't tell me that you don't want the Hannah Montana themed Soundodger levels. You just can't. Don't tell me you don't want it. I know you do. It's futile to deny it.
Westerado is a tale of one lawful cowboy in a world of debauchery. Published on AdultSwimGames.com in 2013, developed by Ostrich Banditos. You wake up from your long rest, already fully clothed, adorned in warm autumn colors and even darker skin, and yet the natives still refer to the protagonist as White Man. Maybe it's a matter of principle. Going about your morning on the ranch you grew up on with your family. Westerado exists as 2 play modes. The first mode conversation. Despite the limits of the graphics, although I think it was both a purposeful art style choice and fits the narrative. Also, it was a Flash game on AdultSwimGames.com. They all sort of look like this. It facilitates faster movement. Either way, this is a dialogue-centric cinematic game, where the choices you make as a man and as a cowboy will reflect how and when you complete this adventure. Stepping outside really shows the art style was no mere limitation. This game is downright beautiful at moments. I don't know precisely what season this game was released, but while the world is vast and varied, every board oozes a golden autumn. The orange patches on the ground reminiscent of fallen leaves. Happy Autumn of Ultra, everyone. Also, you gotta love a game that drops a cinematic title sequence after you've already begun playing. But have you? You return to your family's ranch, covered in flames, draped in smoke. The chickens run frantically to escape their fiery fate. Who's there? Brother, I'm glad to hear your voice. A bandit came out of nowhere, his gun blazing. How about Mother? No. And now, it's on. Speaking of Mother, strong, silent, emotionally distant cowboy, heartbreaking opening, pixelated graphics, isometric maps, a dialogue focus. Why do we need an American translation of Mother 3? We have one right here. Look, they even have Porky. Your brother gives you the first clue, which varies depending on playthrough. So earlier I said that half of the game was dialogue focused, and it is. Your cowboy keeps a notebook of every clue gathered on his family's killer. And within the same menu, you can access the map that you'll fill out over time. But the only way to fill out these clues and this map is by talking to strangers. Gathering clues from people all over the sandy dunes while riding in a town on your trusty horse. That's the last family you got. Some strangers will give you clues to find your man, some will bring up other crimes they find more pertinent, some will complain about losing their job, and some will just sell you stuff. Like at the saloon, where the only strangers you can gather info from are at the table playing cards. This is nothing like Balatro. Every single time I play, I get a bogus hand. I'm never cracking these guys. Some strangers will ask you to act as a lawman, pulling off jobs or following trails for them, and in exchange, they'll give you additional information. I will say, sometimes in the quest for immersion, I can get a little lost in this browser-based Flash game. Even when it seems I filled out the entire map, it's still only listed as 67% complete. I mean, the world is surprisingly expansive. Sure, you can use your trusty horse to fast travel, but the map connects, each town or province or mine being attached to one another, each differentiated by the tunes that play as you explore them. It's that damn default song that I feel in my bones that I remember. There's no way I had the attention span for this game as a kid. I barely had it now. But that song, that damn song, if at any point in the early 2010s I caught the commercial late at night from the glow of my TV as it told me about this new game over at AdultSwimGames.com, I don't remember playing the game. But for whatever reason, boy, do I remember this theme. And while there are notes on your family's murderer, your cowboy doesn't see suit to take notes on anything else, like how many packs of bison I freed, or where I've already been. It's a real testament to this retro-based bit browser game that I have the same problem with it as I do Red Dead Redemption 2. Look, I know it's meant to be immersive, but do I really need to clean my gun every time I want to shoot? Wait a minute. Did I just say gun? Earlier I said that there are two modes of play, and they are talking and actions. You can use the standard WASD keys to move your cowboy of indeterminate race, while using E as both an interaction and a dialogue option. And the game tells you can sprint with shift or double tapped, but I kept forgetting that. This really is Mother 3. But if you guide your hand to the right side of the keyboard, you can press J to pull your gun, or holster it, K to cock it once, and then K again to shoot. Once you run out of ammo in the top left, represented by this cylinder up here, you have to use the R key to reload each individual casing, which you could use to intimidate your enemies, shoot the locks off the Bison prison, shoot the bottles off the boxes to impress the ladies, or Alright, I had nothing to do with that. One of your cronies shot you. In the same way that every single stranger can be talked to, every single stranger can also be shot in the head. You may be asking, Ultra, if the murderer is one of these strangers spread around the map, what's stopping you from just killing everyone until you find them, statistically speaking? And my response to that would be... Hey, barkeep, put it all on that guy's tab. He made me play cards. Badly. I'm on a genocide route. Where's that funny talking skeleton? If you stand in the middle of town and kill enough strangers, the game will activate Horde mode, where waves of nameless and dialogue-less characters will rush in and take down the rogue ranger. This will continue until you either die or leave. You only have a handful of hats, and if they're all knocked off your guy, shot in the head, you will die a death. But you could always just buy more hats from the nice lady in the saloon. Assuming you don't shoot and kill her. No way am I going to a place called the Haberdashery. So sure, maybe I didn't find my family's killer. But hey, I did collect over 1,000 from killing bandits and townfolk. I mean, just think of all the hats I could... Oh, right. Despite everything, it's still you.
Castle Doombad.
Who doesn't love a good tower defense game? There's plenty out there as far back as 1978 Space Invaders, but for me, Bloons Tower Defense will hold the heavyweight championship as the best. Is that nostalgia talking? I'm too old to care. So Castle Doombad was released in 2014 for the Android and iOS, but recently got ported to desktop, which is the version I was playing. I didn't know going into this that it started out as a phone game, but after I saw the signs, it started to catch on. The large text boxes, the signature daily reward system, though many games in general do that now, even the way you pick up coins throughout the levels. It just screams touchscreen technology. This isn't to put the game down by any means, as I had more fun with this than I thought. I've been playing it off and on even after I had plenty of content for this review. It's just that addicting. That can't be the last one. I'm gonna try it one more time. What sets this one apart for me, at least thematically, is that you're playing as the villain of the story, hence the name. Oh, I just realized we're playing as the villain. The player works for Dr. Lord Evilstein, a robot who kidnaps princesses. You must build traps and send out little demon cat things to stop waves of heroes from entering your castle and rescuing her. Well, this robot must have watched Monsters Inc. because your traps are actually powered by the princess's screams. The longer you keep her imprisoned, the more she screams, and when she screams, your scream collection goes up, allowing you to buy and place more traps. You know, it's really tough to say all of that out loud and then turn around and go, but I love this game, so I just kinda ignore the premise and focus on the gameplay. So what's that like? Well, like any tower defense game, you set your traps, you got your upgrades, and there's different perks you can add on by upgrading Lord Evilstein's lair. All trap and Doom can damage is increased by 2%.
Alfred, bring me the bat mic.
I got a bonus. I got the Gentleman Tagonist. Some of my favorite traps are the Arrow Launcher, the first Doomkin, which I added a custom skin to give him a little tuxedo. Isn't he so cute? And the Acid Dripper. Most of these traps happen automatically once you place them, but there are some manual ones as well. See ya. Though with how chaotic the levels can get, I found myself put off by those ones. I also started forgetting some of the special power moves you get, which are located in the upper left corner. Oh my god, I forgot all about my power-ups. I could have saved her, I could have reset all of my trap charges. But it turns out it's good to forget about them until you need them because they are one use only. Unlike everything else, they aren't powered by screams, and if you use them up during one level, you don't get to reset them for the next one. You have to buy more with one of the in-game currencies. Like I said, this one's pretty addicting, so I invested quite a bit of time in it, and the more I played, my perspective on the game changed a lot. I think I grabbed the wrong thing. Yeah, I wanted the acid machine. Fuck. The first 5 levels are strictly tutorial, which, while are necessary as there's quite a bit going on, it can also cause the game to feel like it's really dragging on. At first, I was blown away with how mind-numbingly slow the heroes walk throughout the castle. I wish there was a way to make them run faster. But a couple dozen levels later, you'd wish they'd walk even slower, as they pile up pretty fast, and the heroes' diversity expands greatly. Holy shit, that is a lot of them. Some heroes can even dismantle or attack the traps you place, so you really gotta strategize where you place them. Whoa, look at that guy. Do you see him? He's upside down. Oh wow, oh wow. He's killing my cat! A superhero?
Superman!
And it could be a while before your scream counter fills up enough to play some more, so don't just start placing them willy-nilly. As the enemies do get much harder, along with the level design, some enemies can spawn right next to the princess, giving you no time or room for traps. Damn, that's cheap. That's a direct line. You can still win the level if she's released from her little prison tube, as long as you kill all the enemies before she leaves the castle, but you won't get a crown. And crowns are what helps unlock more levels. Though, if they release her and get to leave the tower as well, it's game over completely. The art style of the game is really fun too. Everything looks cute, memorable, and distinct. It's also patterned by this skull logo, which you can find just about anywhere in the game in various forms. And it looks practically a one-to-one with my own skull logo too, so maybe I'm a bit biased. And you can even customize the skins on the traps themselves. After a while, the levels get so hard that I started building custom loadouts per level, as it got harder to rely on a default build every time. But that also forced you to try out all the traps, which was fun. I'm a little confused on why this qualifies as an Adult Swim game though. There's no signs of gore or explicit dialogue or character designs, which is fine, but it doesn't even feature any content or references from Adult Swim's catalog of IPs either. This could easily be a family-friendly game on Miniclip or something. Maybe it's just the premise of playing as the villain capturing princesses for their screams? Yeah, that might be it. Anyways, I got to experiment with the phone version too, and while the gameplay is the same, there was one notable difference. For the desktop, I had to buy the game for a flat fee of $10. Not bad, right? But on the phone, it's free. The catch, there's ads. But if you choose to watch an ad, you can get 300 free coins in seconds, and you can do that every couple of rounds. This is not on the desktop version at all. I hesitate to call this pay to win, but it certainly gives you an advantage if you play it on mobile. It's almost like not paying for the game on desktop is the better option. Hell, I'll take 300 free coins every couple of minutes if I had the chance. Some of these upgrades are expensive. I need to increase the attack speed of this. That would change the whole game. Oh, it'd be so much money though. In fact, one time, a level ended with a bonus of 900 coins, but if you watched an ad, it would double the payout. That doesn't seem fair. But then there is another mode, Rogue Mode, that I discovered later, and it does make it much easier to obtain coins. It helps, but it's still not as rewarding as the mobile version. Anyways, there's a sequel coming out for this game too, and honestly, I think I'm gonna play it. I don't think I ever would have touched this game, let alone it exists, if it wasn't for making this review, but I'm glad I did, because I'm hooked. I'm not much of a gamer, so I'm attracted to the simpler games, like Overcooked or Tetris Friends, when that was online. Anyone remember that? So, as I wait for the sequel, I'm gonna keep on grinding through this one and see how far I can make it. See you around, folks, and as always, keep it fizzy.
Jazzpunk.
A ghost! 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 Ghost!
For full transparency, I played Jazzpunk Director's Cut on Steam, which included the Flavor Nexus DLC. There's a few differences that I'll go over in a little bit, but for the most part, the game is basically the same as the base game. I just played this version because I didn't have access to the original version. In 2014, developers Necrophone Games teamed up with Adult Swim Games to publish their hit indie title, Jazzpunk, on PC. I vividly remember the marketing for this game when it was announced, and being very excited for this one. I think I remember watching PewDiePie play through the game, which got me even more pumped. Now, in 2014, I had one of those dinky little MacBooks that couldn't play anywhere, and yet, even that could play Jazzpunk, so I purchased and downloaded the game on Steam, and back then, I was addicted to this game. I could not get enough. Upon replay, how does it hold up? Well, first things first, let's talk about the story. No, seriously, let's discuss. I don't know what's happening. Okay, so yeah, the game's story isn't exactly its strongest suit, but there's a reason for that, which we'll discuss a little later. Basically, from what I could gather from what the game shows and tells us, and from everyone's favorite online encyclopedia, you play as Polyblank, a secret spy who goes on missions all around the world in the 50s. But this world is different than the one that we all know and tolerate. This is a world where Japan conquered North America, so a lot of what goes on in this game is very different than what we see and know in the real world. I mean, AI sex bots? Like that's ever gonna happen. Now that sounds like a very bleak world, one where the US lost the Second World War, and based on what was said in a few interviews by the game's developers, it seems like originally the game was going to be a bit more somber and morbid. However, they decided to shift focus and make the game a full-on comedic experience. And I think that was the right call, because man, this game might be over a decade old, but it is still really, really funny. A lot of trendy indie games that come out nowadays that aim to be more comedic do succeed, and I think that's important to note, but they exist in this vacuum where, while in the moment they are very funny, I feel as though the humor is so focused to appeal to the here and now, and the in the moment, that the longevity of these games' humor will tend to not be as strong. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that mindset, nor am I saying that every indie game that strives to be this comedic falls into that pool, but it is something I've noticed. Jazzpunk, meanwhile, manages to have a shockingly timeless humor, thanks to its visual gags, dialogue, and yes, even its reference humor, which it is abundant with. I know reference humor strikes a nasty chord of laziness with a lot of people, and I'm not here to change your mind, but I'll give props to the team because the references never feel forced or dragged out. There's never a reference to something just for the audience to point and say, I understand that reference, because there's always more meat to them. Like there's one gag where you look through a pair of binoculars and it's a James Bond gun barrel joke. And that's pretty funny on its own, I guess. But that's not the only layer to the joke. The binoculars aren't on the ground level, so when you exit the little cutscene, you see the James Bond character floating there for a second before he falls down to the ground. See, the jokes are very layered like that. There's always something else going on with them, and that's not exclusive to only the references. So yeah, the comedy plays a major part in this game, and because of that, the story does take a bit of a backseat. But honestly, I don't really care that much at all. Each mission gives you a clear objective, and you can just go from point A to point B to get through it, and you will feel comedically satisfied, but you're not fully experiencing the game if you do so. All the levels are jam-packed with tons of extra little things to do, all of which bring their own comedic flair to the table. Some of them are quick and easy jokes, while others are full-on side quests that can take a pretty hefty amount of time and even carry on into other levels. And then there's some of them that are just reference humor stuff, but ramped up to 11 by going all in on the joke. One of my favorites is this wedding cake found at the resort. For those of you that haven't played this game before, take a wild guess as to what happens if you interact with this cake. If you said play a Quake-style deathmatch game called Wedding Cake, where all the AI characters are wedding guests and all the weapons are wedding themed, like a champagne bottle, then you'd be wrong. It was actually patched to be called Wedding Cake for the director's cut. Speaking of, I want to go into more detail about the changes, but before that, I have to give praises to the art and music as well. The style of this game is so poppy, I love it, and the characters are all just modeled after those little cartoon people you see on bathroom doors, so they can't really use their limbs or bend or anything, so everything looks a bit wonky and it works very well. And the soundtrack is great too, props to Luis Hernandez for this one. The opening alone is an all-time banger. And you can actually purchase the soundtrack on his Bandcamp, which was just officially released last year. Anyways, onto the differences. I'm going based off what I've seen online, since I don't believe there's an official document anywhere listing all the changes, so I apologize if I missed anything up. So in 2016, the publishing rights for the game were relinquished from Adult Swim Games to Necrophone Games, and they released a director's cut on PS4 as well as on PC a year later, which also included a lost episode titled Flavor Nexus. The DLC is just another 40-ish minutes of gameplay, but it's just as packed with the same humor that Jazzpunk has that I love. As for the changes to the main game, from what I've seen, the first and last levels are pretty much unchanged. The resort level got some new in-depth jokes added, but that's basically it. But the Japan level got a whole plethora of new additions, like a wrestling ring and a cyberpunk side mission, to name a few. These are all optional and don't really change the main story of the game, so if you don't really care about that kind of stuff, you don't even have to interact with it. Though possibly, the craziest change is what they did to Wedding Cake. Oh, sorry, I mean Wedding Cake. They gave it a complete overhaul, now having multiple maps and allowing for multiplayer? They did not have to go this hard, and yet they did, and I fully respect them for it. Honestly, me talking about this game does not do it enough justice. Pick up this game on PS4 or PC, I promise you it's worth your time. Not every joke will land with you, and some stuff hasn't aged the best. It does make me raise an eyebrow or two.
At least I can cook these fries for dinner.
But for the most part, this is hands down one of the most timelessly funny games of all time, and I cannot recommend it enough. Remember kids, drugs save lives.
Duck game.
Wait, hold on. The gun's not working, hold on.
Wait.
I'm working on it, I'm fixing it.
Hi, my name is Jay Latney. You might remember me from 30 entries ago.
Shut up.
Duck Game, developed by one guy, Landon Pobletsky, also known as Super Joe Bob, is a classic example of a YouTuber game. Games like Turbo Dismount or I Am Bread. You know, games that you watched Jacksepticeye play like 10 years ago?
Top of the morning to you laddies, my name is Jacksepticeye.
Duck Game is a 2D action party game where you and 3 other people just start fucking booming each other's shit. Clean the fuck off.
Wow.
There are some single player challenges and things to unlock, like little game modes and more hats. This chainsaw minigame is a real fucker because, like, I've been trying to get over this fucking jump for like 20 minutes and I flew off the goddamn side of the... Okay, whatever, man. But who cares? Because the real game comes from just trying to get 3 other people to agree to spend like $13 on a game you'll play for like an hour and never touch again. Honestly, there's not much more to say. You're a duck, you wear a hat, you get a dedicated quack button. Speak. Speak, ladies and gentlemen, speak. That's it, you gotta piss me off. Oh, wait. You spawn into a randomly selected map with nothing but your duck and a stupid ass hat, and you book it as fast as possible to the nearest weapon and try to be the last duck standing. It's a silly game with low stakes, and yeah, you can blow your friend's head off with a shotgun, but you can also blow them up, set them on fire, capture them in a net gun, and just slam dunk them off the face of the earth. Or you can even start a band. Fuck if I know, you do whatever you want.
Yeah. Oh! Holy fuck. Oh.
So thank you, Super Joe SpongeBob, for this game, and remember, wow, what the?
Got his ass.
Mega Coin Squad. Oh, it's me again? Forget everything I said about Super Mole Escape. This game is actually Donkey Kong Bonanza. Can you tell I've been playing a lot of Donkey Kong Bonanza? Swift movements focus on collecting gold and the fulfilling desire to destroy everything. Mega Coin Squad, developed by Big Pixel Studios and published by Adult Swim Games, until it wasn't anymore. On top of capturing gameplay footage for myself, I like to hunt down any additional information I can on the games I cover. And normally they have their own articles on fandom, I know, gross, or Wikipedia, but this game doesn't have either of those. The Game Grumps Wiki it is! Mega Coin Squad is a PC game played by Aaron Ross and Barry as a one-off, and is the 85th game played on Steam Train. Thanks. I'm learning a whole lot. And normally I try and limit the amount of time I dedicate to individual games after the Aqua Teen fiasco. We have a lot of games to cover tonight. But, just like Donkey Kong Bonanza, I refuse to move on to the next level until I fully 100% it. Thank God this game is actually playable on Steam. This time I don't have to dust off the PS2 or peer over someone's shoulder as they play an iPhone game. No. This game only looks like an iPhone game. That's an exaggeration based on years of shovelware overutilizing pixel art styles. Mega Coin Squad actually doesn't look that bad. Although I do wonder why they included a CRT filter when the game first released in 2014, and applying it makes the game look like this. You could choose between 5 playable characters with slightly different stats. There's Mikey, Steph, modern day Jack Black, Daft Punk, but I'm going with Mouth because this is what I'm gonna look like in 1 or 2 years. Maybe without the cat suit. Once I noticed that there were only 4 worlds, grass, sand, ice, and lava, each with 4 levels, the completionist switch flipped in my brain and the synapses were firing. Beard mode activated. Because sure, you have 3 lives at the start of each level, and you can play the game by slowly accumulating as many coins as you can carry and then taking them back to the large piggy bank in shifts, and maybe you'll get shot or run into an enemy. Or you can get the 3 special gemstones by beating the level fast enough, without dying, and depositing the gold all in one go. So that's why it took me an hour and a half to leave World 1. Is this what Sonic fans feel like? Because I'm starting to understand. It doesn't help that the character I chose just sounds like Sonic the Hedgehog. I wanted to look up the cast of this game on IMDb to see if it was one of the many Hedgehog's voices. God, it's fucking Steam Train again! By achieving these 3 goals, and it is these 3 goals every time, the only factor that changes is the level. Whether that be the amount of coins you need to collect, or the entire fourth of this game where you have to navigate ice physics. Everyone always talks about how awful underwater levels in games are, but does anyone even actually like ice levels? But aside from that, once you really get into the game and master the movement, it feels really good to move around. Sometime. It helps that at the end of each level, you can use the gems you potentially unlock to receive a randomized upgrade. I unlocked the ability to double jump in the very final world. I think like 2 levels away from the end. If I haven't said it enough already, man, I should be playing Donkey Kong Bonanza right now. I'm wearing the big Bonanza button, but you can also unlock drops of power-ups or weapons. But I'll be honest, I upgraded my neutral projectiles so much that by the end, I was purposefully avoiding the item drops because I knew they were weaker than Mouth's Fireball. But the power-ups are a different story. Satisfying coin magnet that flies all of the coins, bringing the riches to you. The coin spawner that is just the golden flower from New Super Mario Bros. 2. You guys remember this handheld sequel? The one that came out the same year as the Wii U version? I know it really isn't fair to compare this Adult Swim game to a Nintendo game. I mean, it's hardly fair to compare any game to Nintendo games. But I do think there are little details that are missing that would go a long way. Most evident with the invincibility power-up. Like, I use a pretty large monitor for my scheduled computer time, but it was still kinda hard to discern when the mouth is no longer... I can't imagine the CRT filter would help, and this is mostly because the music never changes. When you are... In other games, it plays a little jingle to let you know you are still... Stop doing that, stop. But in this game, I kept running into enemies because I assumed I was invulnerable, which wouldn't be as annoying if one of the completionist goals wasn't to not get hit even once. This is especially egregious in the final level of each world, where the goal is no longer collecting gold, but instead destroying all the enemies. So really there's only 3 coin levels in each world, equaling 12 coin hunt levels altogether. And if you 100% complete the game, like I sought out to do, you get a little congratulations screen, and then you're placed in like 200th place on the leaderboard, and you can't leave until you shut down the game. Or maybe that was just me. So yeah, my analysis of this game is that I played it for multiple hours. That's either a testament for how fun the gameplay loop is, or a testament for how easy it is to make me play your game for hours on end. If you give me a checklist of things, I will do those things. Just give me a grocery list. It's the reason I still haven't beaten Donkey Kong Bonanza. Listen, I want to get everything in the game.
Lesbian Spider Queens of Mars. Yes, of course the Lesbian. Had to cover this one. Created by Anna Anthropy, in this retro arcade-inspired game, you play as the Lesbian Spider Queen of Mars. To quote Pop Matter's article about the game, a woman-arachnid hybrid with tantalizing red skin whose palace is in revolt. Her all-female complement of slaves has decided it is time to slip the bonds, assumedly in the form of webbing, of their master, and are now running over the palace grounds, from places like the chapel to the armory, and of course the bathhouse. As Spider Queen, the player will use her crystal scepter to ensnare slaves in webs and recapture or devour them, as much of the voiceover implies. While this game was originally developed for Adult Swim, it would later be re-released as a standalone title as well. This version is much more explicit, and the listed themes include kink, upper body nudity, bondage, and restraint imagery, aka using a bondage laser to cocoon women and or capture them. Something I feel is important to mention about this game, and you probably already caught on to based off the description I read, is the term slave is heavily used in this game, and this is something that Anna talks about further in her re-release of the game's description. The term slaves is used repeatedly within the game's narrative. In the meta-narrative, the game's story can be thought of as a consensual, non-consent scenario where the participants are consenting to a scenario that involves pursuit and capture. Within the surface narrative, though, the story is about a queen repressing a slave rebellion on Mars. The intent behind the game was to marry the aesthetics of pulp science fiction, the John Carter series for example, with that of titillating or erotic pulp fiction. It was intended to be campy, however, I designed the game almost a decade ago and probably would have treated these themes and language very differently if I had developed the game now.
Bionic Chainsaw Robo Gorilla is, hey look, it's Meatwad from that one golf game. While we're on that topic, this is how you do a chainsaw dismemberment. I was afraid to play this game. Not because of the chainsaw or the Bionic or even the gorilla. No, what I dreaded above all else was the simple title, Pogo. There are some mechanics that will always be a part of video games, almost like those ideas are woven into the code themselves. That's kind of how coding works, Andrew. The case has been cracked. If you're playing a game underwater, you're gonna move sluggishly. If you're flying a plane, up and down are going to be inverted. If you're on ice, your character will have low traction. And if you have a trampoline in your game, BH Ultra will find a way to fuck it up. For most games, you have to press the jump button precisely when the trampoline, or in some cases spring, is at its lowest. And it's not always consistent. I wanted to use another example from Donkey Kong Bonanza, but I'm not. When does the spoiler embargo lift? Because I've been only playing this game and then also Adult Swim games nonstop. And I was really worried once I realized that you never stop jumping in this game. The Bionic Gorilla is attached at the legs, or lack thereof, to a pogo stick. So every step forward is a jump. And I'd be lying if I said it didn't cause a lot of death in platforming sections, but it was never the point of frustration. I'm getting ahead of myself. The story of Bionic Pogo Chainsaw Gorilla, or was that Bionic Chainsaw Pogo Gorilla? We're about to get into it. We'll cover the intro once the bar is done loading. You know this loading bar? You know how some Flash games have load times? It probably just has a lot of assets and art to load. Some music, platforms, characters. It's gonna wait for it to load. Any day now. Okay, so I was going to do a joke here where I talk nonstop until the loading bar filled, but it, no joke, took a whole 4 minutes, and I have 10 minutes max to talk about this game. Once upon a time, there was a happy gorilla living the good life in the jungle. Then one day, an evil corporation captured the gorilla and took him far away from his home. Turns out, this corporation made a wide variety of products that they tested on animals. And today, they were testing out their new line of chainsaws and pogo sticks. Alright, I can already see where this is going. They removed the gorilla's limbs painfully and replaced them with a toy for children and a pogo stick. If you remove all the awesome and cool stuff from this game, this is basically one of those PETA Flash games. But when you're actually in the game, it's a whole different story. It's a side-scrolling beat-em-up game, and I've often found this genre to be a little stuck in the past. Like, they worked as being unfairly annoying in the arcade, because every time you die, you have to insert a real American quarter. That's like almost $1 by today's standards. Or Dave & Buster's standards.
Dragons have invaded Dave & Buster's.
And we keep making side-scrolling beat-em-ups, and they just keep not doing anything for me. I know it's likely nostalgic for 80s kids, but I'm still playing Castle Crashers to this day. This is still the best one. It helps that I can play as my OC Crack now. I don't know if Crack's ever appeared in an actual video. Anyway, Bionic Chainsaw Pogo Gorilla is all about escaping through levels to get revenge on the evil scientists and corpos that made you this monster. Also some bugs, I guess. I don't know what they had to do with this, but we have to kill them anyway. You surprisingly have multiple options of control and combat, multiple ways to mix and match. But this extendo arm that sends the chainsaws outwards, I can count on one hand how many times I needed to use this in game. If my one hand had 3 fingers. Because if you hold down the X key, the Bionic Gorilla Chimera will continually swing their chainsaws around in a circle, and you could just walk into enemies. And my immediate thought was, why would I do anything else? And then I continued to hold down the X key the entire game.
I'm gonna be doing this. If you get hit, it's your own fault.
Like, they can't do anything to this. I'm literally an unstoppable machine with the heart of a gorilla. Later on, there are enemies that are actually better utilized with your Scrooge McDuck Pogo attack to defeat them. Hey, what do you think of that, my close personal friend Brenofloss?
It's okay. It's no DuckTales.
Huh. For some reason, I thought he'd sing that part. Bionic Chainsaw Pogo Gorilla is not what I expected. Like, no offense to all the other Flash games I've played today, but every world is unique, containing unique enemies and exciting boss fights. These were my favorite parts. On top of the soundtrack for this game being incredible for a Flash game buried on Adult Swim's website. And Newgrounds, I must add. Created by Roger Barr as part of iMockery Games. I gotta tell you before I do any further research, this website fucking rules. Happy Halloween, Ultraers. The Autumn of Andrew. Oh my god, look at all these games! Kill the dog from Duck Hunt. Kill the old man from Zelda. What do you think of that, my close personal friend Brenofloss?
It's okay. I mean, it's no DuckTales.
That one doesn't even make sense. Goon the game, huh? That's the name you're going with? I got bad news for you guys. This shit does not mean the same thing in the 20s. I think I actually did play Pitfall 2010, and I've certainly played a number of games where the object was to goon. It's a shame, really. There were artists out there that honed their craft making Flash games. I know there's no happily ever after with any line of work or passion. Like, you never stop. You just keep making. But if you created Flash games in the 2000s, making one for Adult Swim games has to be the final achievement, right? I barely talked about the actual game because I played it for hours and actually had a ton of fun playing it. The time passed so quickly. It's a game that you can lose and die over and over again, but it never stops being fun. Maybe when you're looking at the footage, it looks unfair, but I promise it isn't. It's addicting. I could see an alternate reality where I was born like 2 decades prior and I'm one of those cubicle guys in the 2000s, and then I get fired because instead of logging expenditure reports, I was playing this all day to stop myself from jumping out the glass window to a multiple story drop. I looked at the clock and saw how much time I sank into this game, and only then did I realize how much my finger hurt because I was holding down the X button all day. This game fucking rules. A lot of my sections previously, I just kept comparing games to other games, and I don't think that's really good analysis, but I want you to know that I grew up with a game for the Game Boy Advance as a kid. I played all the time, but I couldn't get past the first level. It's called Teen Titans 2, I believe. I just wanted to bring that. It's not relevant at all. This isn't even in the script, but you know, we got a time limit to get in these. Can we check on that load screen? Oh, the bar's still loading. Oh, it's been loading this whole time?
Robot Unicorn Attack 2. It released for iOS in April of 2013 and Android in July of the same year. While the gameplay loop is largely the same, there are certainly improvements that make the previous version completely obsolete and really not even worth going back to. In addition to all the things I mentioned before, there's an additional collectible now. Tiers, a new currency for you to buy some of this stuff that I'm going to talk about in a second. You can fully customize your unicorn now. You can choose the breed of your unicorn, which has an impact on your speed. There is the default MK2 and the pageant princess that run at what is described as a leisurely pace. There is the Iron Pegasus, U800, and Sparker Charmer that run at a moderate pace, and the Celestial Resonator, Paindeer 2000, Wrathmare, Solar Chariot, UVN7, and the Voidmaker that all run at a fast pace. You can give your unicorns wings now, which technically makes it a Pegasus, but you can customize said wings as well. Wings don't really come into play until you reach your top speed because they then allow you to fly upwards by holding the screen. Now, these wings are separated into two categories, ascending quickly and ascending gracefully. Flying is a useful ability in this type of game, but the differences between all of the options, much like the breeds, are barely noticeable, at least in my experience. The tail and mane are probably the most useful customizable option, providing additional jumps. The default trail, Unicornium Cortex, allows you to double jump. The Flame of the Forge adds an additional jump to that. Chronoscopic Disruptor gives you 3 additional jumps. Crystal Crest and UVM7 provides 4. The Snowcap of Justice and the Pageant Locks give you 5. Ferrototic Locks and the Tentacles of Horror allow for 6 jumps. And the Celestial Plume is the best option, allowing for 7 additional jumps and increases the distance of all of them. You can customize the horns, which impacts dash length, ranging from moderate to long, which is important for destroying stars and enemies. The final cosmetic is the trail following your unicorn, and that impacts the rate of your acceleration. All of these cosmetics not only impact the gameplay, but also allows you to create a character that's uniquely yours. There's even additional stages, only 3 in total, but that trumps the singular stage of the base version of the first game. And even as you play, the levels do begin to change and get way more difficult. There's also more than just one option for the music you can run alongside, with there being 9 in total, some that can be unlocked by playing the game and others you have to actually purchase. They added rings to the game that adds an additional multiplier onto your score. Before each round, you have the option to use perks for your run, like attracting fairies automatically, reaching your top speed in half of the required time, and many others. There was also a community aspect of the game built in that comes paired with actual lore. So despite the fact that I didn't play the first one, I actually did play this game back when the player base was active, and I remember how intense the multiplayer could get. When you download the game, you are presented with 2 factions that you must choose between, Team Rainbow and Team Inferno. The point of the factions was for the 2 teams to compete in daily challenges and see who scores the most points. I personally was Team Inferno, and from my memory, we won more times than not. And from what I could find on the internet, it kinda tells the same story. Now, because the game was removed from the App Store and the servers are down, this is a component of the game that has been lost to time, and that's really unfortunate because it was the best part of the game. The aesthetic of the interstellar punk and cosmic fauna like whales, dolphins, and owls are really cool, and even that alone makes the game worth playing for at least a bit. There's also Robot Unicorn Attack 3, but that game is so ass that it's genuinely not worth talking about. I may be biased because of my nostalgia, but Robot Unicorn Attack 2 is one of the most memorable Adult Swim games that I've ever played. I literally still have it on my phone till this day.
Westerado Double Barreled is a remake of Westerado from before, this time released on Steam, and this time with controller support. And let me be the first to say, thank God. I wanted to play so much more Westerado, but I really do not know how you people do it. You really have one hand on WASD and the other on the mouse, and it doesn't make you feel like you're punching concrete? This is comfortable for you? There are some things I'm just never going to learn. And as long as most Steam games allow a USB Xbox controller, I can keep playing games. Except for Team Fortress 2. I suppose that's just one I'll never understand. I guess I had to be there. Because it's a remake of a game we've already covered here tonight, it would make sense to go over the changes first. Like, obviously the far superior controller controls. Now sprinting has its own dedicated button that I don't need to break my pinky to reach. Maybe now I'll remember to use it. There are little visual changes, like our character model, for one. It has more white peeking through. I wanted to be ambiguous. There's a slightly different opening. The story in general is mostly different, or maybe that's because I didn't read everyone's dialogue last time. But I will say, I think some of the impact of the reveal from the opening is lost when it's your brother telling you that your mom has died, and not a dialogue option that you, the player, have to choose. This feels like one of those remake changes that seems correct on paper from a directorial standpoint, but all in all sort of ruins the moment. The dialogue in general seems less urgent. Your cowboy doesn't accuse everyone of being the murderer anymore, and a lot of dialogue options make it seem like he doesn't really care. Like, in storyline, this happened to him last night, but not not every change is bad. There's a playable horse section when you fast travel between locations, and speaking of, the map is also far more detailed. I think the notebook in general is an appreciated improvement. Now your cowboy keeps additional notes about what threads you're following. They must have gotten my several emails, and your side quests appear on the map with exclamation points, which will make it easier to follow these paths this time around. Returning to Westerado gives me the opportunity to do good. This time, I will not seek vengeance. That's a story for a character I didn't unlock yet. From this moment on, my fingers shall not even graze this trigger. No creature shall fall at my hands. I take a vow of pacifism, which is counterintuitive because the first town we travel to has been transformed into a police town. Also, you can buy different guns in this game, each with their own advantages and disadvantages. None for me, thanks. My conversation ability will be my gun, and my words will be my bullets. The world in general seems more alive and bustling. I just stopped in my tracks when I walked out of this building to see a gaggle of gents all spinning their guns together, and then dispersed when I circled back. Dialogue exchanges happen in real time, and you could still move around. This is the future of games I was promised from BioShock and Valve. Following threads, the sheriff just admits to knowing who the killer is, but he won't help me until I help the spurned wife collect her drunk husband from the saloon. I'm not even bothering with the cards this time. I know that table cheats. They're so thankful for my help that she gives me a hat, which I don't even need, because I'm the pacifist cowboy who nobody hates. I live a peaceful life. My next mission on the trail is to help Rancher Bob deliver his bison to the next town over on a horse ride mission, avoiding rival ranchers. All we have to do is move out of the way. Whoa, stop! This isn't pacifism. Well, Rancher Bob, all your bison died. But on the bright side, I didn't shoot a single person. My peace extends to all creatures, even as I'm attacked by the new snakes and coyotes and vultures. I turn the other cheek and run away as they try and hit me. Well, the bison delivery didn't work, but there's always a plan B. Rancher Bob wants to put together a company that can take down the oil tycoon at the top of the map once and for all. I'm gonna tell you this right now, Bob. I know for a fact one of his henchmen is just itching to shoot him. So now our cowboy has to venture around the map and ask all the ranchers if they'd like to join. Thank God for waypoints and markers. Rancher Cobb and Rancher Richard have agreed, but this other rancher didn't want to join. So I went against my vow, cocked the gun, and used my first bullet in the game to free all of his bison. Now he's got nothing to lose. The rancher company needs someone to stay behind. Obviously, the peaceful cowboy offers to volunteer, but apparently Dick already did. No matter. Come now, my cowboy brothers, for we fight for peace and freedom with our words and our pacifism. I can already feel the shine of a better tomorrow beaming down on me. Why do I need to be motivated by my family's death when instead I can learn and grow from it? I can let the wound heal. This conversation, this moment, this day shall be the first day of the rest of my life. I was got by Three-Fingered Drew. And the worst part is I respawned back in my bed and they took half my money. All $10 of it. I suppose what they say is true. Playing nice doesn't pay. Does that mean Rancher Richard gets everyone's wives now? Dick! Zenzizenzic is not for me. Hi, it's me, BH Ultra. Remember earlier what I said about keyboard and mouse controls, comparing them to a controller? Remember that angry comment you left? I want you to read it again. Make sure there's really no mistakes in there. I want you to fester on that. Zenzizenzic is a Kickstarter-backed shoot-'em-up bullet hell roguelike. I know, right? A hat on a hat. But I'm not against games like this. I used to play Enter the Gungeon on the first year of the Switch when I had no other games. These are my favorite parts of Deltarune. I grew up with Skylanders, and I was fully prepared to grab my controller and play, like the game suggests, which is totally possible with the current controller I have, and have used since I was a teenager for my old work laptop that could barely run Brawlhalla. I went through the tutorial, learning that I could use the left stick to move and the right stick to aim, triggers for movement speeds, and shoulder buttons, or bumpers, for specials. But it's when I got a ways through the first level, just non-stop avoiding enemies, that it dawned on me. If this is a shoot 'em up, Am I supposed to be shooting these guys? There are no buttons on my controller that can shoot the eponymous bullet hell bullets. But what does allow me to shoot these shapely enemies, and I mean that literally, they are shapes, is moving my right hand over to my mouse, aiming the reticle, and clicking. So my options currently are play with just the controller but never have the ability to shoot, hold the controller in my left hand and use the left stick to move while I aim and shoot with my mouse in my right hand, or just give in and do keyboard and mouse controls again. I should specify that this does not make the game bad. It just really isn't for me. I am not built for this world. The only reason I'm covering it, other than seemingly being the controller debate guy, is that no one else in this collaboration project wanted to play it. Take of that what you will. And because it's supposedly a roguelike, you can't just move on to the next level once you beat the previous. You have to collect enough points to unlock the next level, which would be fine if, like any other roguelike, the levels were procedurally generated, but no. I'm just playing the same level, the first level, again. I barely liked playing it the first time. Why would I want to repeat levels? So yes, Zenzizenzic is not for me, by any stretch of the imagination. But it might be for you, if you like shoot-em-ups, or bullet hells, or roguelikes. So basically, if you own a Steam account with more than 15 games. I did not have a great time. But hey, at least the music is good. The soundtrack was done by musician and indie game developer, but not the developer of this game, Big Nick, who previously created music for his games, Corporate Lifestyle Simulator, Domina. Why is this controversies tab longer than the game tab? In March 2022, the patch notes of the Domina update contained a message recommending people not to wear face masks during the COVID-19 pandemic. In September 2022, a new Domina update contained transphobic comments and personal transphobic insults about Keffels, a Twitch streamer. You know what? Let's just move on. I think I've said everything I had to say about this game. I wonder what sad sack of shit has to present the next game after this one. Oblitus is all about trial and error. Yeah, this section's gonna get real philosophical. A lot of the gameplay you're going to see in the background of this section is gonna look like me doing the same thing over and over again. It's gonna look like I didn't even try. It's gonna look like I played this game for about 10 minutes and then stopped. But that could not be further from the truth. I want to talk about Souls-like games. And more than that, I want to talk about this new breed of indie Metroidvanias. Games that are built off of the principle of trial and error. Beyond being a YouTuber, I am a streamer. More than that, I am a stubborn rage baiter. Once I start doing something a certain way in a video game, I am determined to pull that action off in that specific way. I don't know what happened to me in my mother's womb, but I don't think I ever developed that part of your brain that detests monotony. I could truly sit at my desk for 5 hours straight, fighting the same video game boss fight over and over and over and over again, until I get the perfect inputs to defeat it. As a streamer, I get requests sometimes, and I like to use my streams as a way to explore games I've never played. I don't stream what I'm good at, because where's the fun in that? Also, I'm good at very few games. And I've gotten requests to play Metroidvania, Souls game, and Metroidvania-esque Souls game. And I, personally, would be fully down to do so. I just know that it would be unbearable to watch. I hear a lot of complaints about games these days, about games like Oblitus, in the modern age of games. That games like this are too hard or too repetitive, but those complaints aren't actually different. They're just two descriptors of the same one complaint. These games are not hard, nor are they boring. It's just that most gamers find repetition to be hard. To quote a Far Cry game and not an actual philosopher, insanity is doing the same fucking thing over and over again, expecting shit to change. That is crazy. Voss Montenegro is wrong here. That isn't insanity. That's life. That's perseverance. So sure, maybe I did get killed by plants and shield guys and zombies and vultures and the big crystal monster. But you want to know what I did? I didn't give up. I pulled myself right up and did the same fucking thing over and over again. Repetitive games are not difficult or unfair because the more you do something, the better you do. That's just how reflex works. Maybe you do play most of this game forgetting movement options that you learned in the tutorial. Maybe you can picture a phantom chat appearing in the left side of your view screaming, "What are you doing? Why are you not shielding?" But there's no wrong way to play a game. Listen, I'm guilty of participating in it. I like attention. But I do fear the way we go about engaging with games has become too judgy and surveillance-based. There's no harm in being bad at games, and there's no harm in dying over and over again. I'm not gonna agree with that one tweet or article about how easy mode in games is basically cheating, but I do agree that choosing an easier mode when you get stuck in a game is missing a piece of the puzzle, because truly, anyone can get good at any game. It really is just a matter of how much you're willing to put into it. Oblitus kicked my ass and called me Sally, but out of every game on this slate of 4 Steam games from Adult Swim Games that came out in 2015, there has to be a better way to say all that. This is the one I'm most likely to come back to. Well, of what we've covered so far. I'm sort of glad no one else decided to cover these games, because at the end of the day, this is why I wanted to make this video. These are the games I bought in bulk on Steam because I thought they were going to get delisted. Now we've actually made it to the idea I had a year or so ago. I've made it this far into the discussion of the philosophy of game design that I've neglected to actually give you details on Oblitus. I mean, you're probably seeing it right now. Your little knight drops into the world of Parvis to answer the call and, to quote the Steam page, break the cycle. I assume by break the cycle, they mean finally beat the fucking boss by memorizing his patterns. No clue where the vultures fall into this, those guys are just assholes. Endowed with a trusty spear that you can aim up, down, or really anywhere. It's the future of games, we don't need cardinal directions anymore. The same spear you can throw with the tap of the right trigger on the controller that you should be playing on. I want to think the reason that I'm a terrible shot is because of my stubborn use of controller, but I know deep down that even with a mouse, I'd be shooting blanks. Also, I'd like to lean on my depth perception as an excuse, but the spear comes back eventually. Throughout exploring the same cave over and over again, your knight can come across upgrades, like faster spear recall, double damage, or poison damage enchantments for your spear. While the collectible enchantments are always in the same place, or in the same monster, they aren't always the same upgrade. This doesn't even begin to cover the movement. The rolling, the jumping, the rolling into jumping, and sending your knight skyward. Also, you can shield and parry. You don't want to forget that because then the phantom chat in your head will get mad. I should go outside after this. Truth be told, I never used this parry once, but I did manage to escape the opening cave marked with the loading screen of a slightly changed traditional mask. It changes based on the local flora and fauna, and by that I mean the area you're in. Although the local fauna always seems to be this fucking vulture. That fucking bird that I hate! But the cave is the lifeblood of this game. The beating heart. When you wake up, you are given 2 options of left or right. Technically 3 options once you learn you can destroy wooden crates and walls using your spear, but heading downward will take you to an unlivable dungeon of stink that will just swiftly kill you. Like, more so than everything else swiftly kills you in this game. I'd love to keep talking about what it means for a game to be difficult in the independent age of exploration, but if you don't mind me, I have to go commit the definition of insanity. The chat in my head says so. Traverser is... That never occurred to me. Listen, I know my thing in these sections so far has just been a game of comparison. Oh, Westerado's like Mother 3, Mega Coin Squad is like Donkey Kong Bonanza. I didn't say Oblitus is like Hollow Knight, but just know that I was thinking it. But legitimately, the opening gameplay section of Traverser is receiving a special weapon for testing purposes, going through multiple different testing rooms while led by a disembodied loudspeaker voice. Some are based off avoiding robots and some are blocking lasers with boxes. There it is! There's your Portal 3 video! Is it everything you could have ever wanted? In all seriousness, the gun or glove here is actually more akin to Half-Life than Portal. I mean, I'd literally need to pick up that gun. I thought Traverser was gonna be one of those story games, like one where the game is built around atmosphere and world building, and then when I say, actually, I prefer fun game mechanics, everyone fucking yells at me over a blue sky. But why do I care? It's Blue Sky! But before I knew this game was an actual game, I wanted to give it the benefit of the doubt and listen to all the dialogue, no matter how monotonous. Traverser's setting is simultaneously a post-apocalyptic technology-focused future and a retro-Victorian-era time capsule labeled by some to be, quote, steampunk. The sun is dead. Mankind has fled underground in the two-sided city of Brimstone. The all-seeing Raven Corporation controls our most precious resource, breathable air. It now falls to guard and training Valerie to infiltrate the company, reveal its secrets, and uncover years of lies and propaganda. So we start as Valerie on the most important day of our new life, the day we take our Traverser test. After we play Duck Hunt on the computer, that's non-negotiable. Getting acclimated with the world, beginning as sort of a point-and-click adventure, we head out to fetch our sickly father a pail of breathable air. Along the way, washed with political posters and avoiding the mechanical fun police, an early glimpse into what this world has been bogged down to. Once we enter the testing room, we receive the Gravity Manipulation Glove, patent pending. It's brought into context by referring to its power to switch between worlds, and Traversers earn the ability to move between the city proper and the seedy underbelly. But they choose to display this by having us unlock the revolutionary technology of hitting the button on an elevator. And these are the testing rooms. I'd be lying if I said I didn't purposefully leave out the other mechanics we learned, like the stealth sections that will likely be a bigger part of the game later. Or not. But to me, the meat of this game is the gravity glove. How is the entire game not built around this mechanic? You've given me an infinite fun machine and expect me to, quote, uncover the truth? After making our way back to Valerie's family home, we open the door to find it ransacked. Paper strewn everywhere, and her father missing from his chair. The game encourages the player to hunt for clues within the 2 floors of this house, finding a random note and several new posters. The room adorned in fresh propaganda. And, well, you have to hear me out here. Listen. This video is already past the 2-hour mark by this point. You can see it. The writing's on the wall. I turned this house upside down trying to look for more clues, sending furniture from wall to wall, even managing to wedge the recliner in the stairs. This tiny house is now my eternal resting place. I cannot escape. And talk about your home stuck, but I'm sorry I had way too much fun playing around with the gravity glove in this house. Wait a minute. No, I'm not. This is the game now. This house is the world map, and this glove is my new religion. Time to do some light redecorating. We have to straighten the posters and dust the computer, put the chair in the fridge, and put some shit on the oven. The clock still ticks, and I'm still trapped in this death trap of a house. We've already established it has a limited amount of fresh air. That was our call to action. Soon we will face a grisly fate, resting easy in the fact that our father has since been removed from his own personal hell. What if this desk was over here? You cannot clip outside the bounds of this house. I have tried everything. I can already tell you, there's no way the rest of this game utilizes the gravity glove this much. I'm like one of those addicts right before they go to rehab. I'm going all out with the fun game mechanic before I have to comb the streets for stray pieces of cheese. What's ironic is nearly every review I read for this game either said it was too short or said it was a waste of potential. Happy 10-year anniversary, Traverser. Tune back in another 5 years for Traverser 2, where the entire game is set entirely within this room. But also you get a slightly more powerful gravity glove. And maybe it's in VR. If you couldn't tell already, and you're gonna be angry about it, this video is not for the purpose of objective review. Can we please cut to someone else? I feel like I'm running out of steam here. Oh, like steampunk? I get it!
Pocket Mortys. So what would happen if you tossed Rick and Morty and Pokemon into a Ninja Professional Blender 1000 watt total crushing technology, smoothies, ice crushing, and frozen fruit, full-sized countertop blender, 72 ounce black and gray BL610? Well, you get Pocket Mortys. Also, who the hell in their right mind decided to make that the actual name of the blender? Like, just call it Blender. Anyways, developed by Big Pixel Studios, Tag Games, and Pocket-Sized Hands, and published by none other than Adult Swim Games, Pocket Mortys launched on January 13th, 2016 for mobile devices. And it's a free-to-play parody of Pokemon where you play as Rick C123, journeying through dimensions, battling alien trainers, catching wild Mortys, and earning badges, all while trying to retrieve Rick's stolen portal gun from the Council of Ricks. And when I say this game is a straight-up Pokemon parody, I mean it. Turn-based combat? Check. Item shops and healing centers? Check. A daycare where you mash two Mortys together like some unholy science experiment until they evolve? Oh yeah, it's all here. Yet despite being a parody, the world is surprisingly colorful and manages to stand on its own instead of just being Pokemon with Mortys. And it's not just a single player experience either. I mean, there are raid events, a fight pit for multiplayer brawls, and tons of updates. In fact, despite this game being nearly a decade old, it's still being consistently updated, which I don't think is bad for what could have easily been a throwaway gag project. And with over a few hundred Morty variants to collect like Cronenberg Morty, Pickle Morty, Car Morty, Reverse Mermaid Morty, and the one true Morty, which is basically like the game's equivalent of a legendary Pokemon, it's a hilarious, absurd, and sometimes deep-fried collect-a-thon that's just as fun as it is ridiculous. Now, not everything about this game is perfect. Critics and players have pointed out pay-to-win mechanics, repetitive grinding, and a fair share of bugs, and yes, those complaints are totally valid. In fact, I've ran into some of them firsthand while playing the game. But when you strip it down, Pocket Mortys is exactly what it promises to be. A simple, weirdly addictive, parody-driven RPG. Pocket Mortys may not be flawless, but it's fun, it's stylish, and it's worth at least one solid playthrough. You know, if only to collect a Morty with a car for a f***ing body. What could I say? It's fun. I had fun playing it, and I think people who haven't given it a shot should totally check it out.
Peter Panic. Peter Panic is a mobile game made by James Marion and Ben Bonema. It's a WarioWare type game that has you take the role of Peter, who upon moving to a new town decides he wants to reopen the theater. However, when he finds that the theater has been closed down due to a previous tragedy, it's up to him to gather enough friends to help him set the stage for opening night. The games are pretty simple, and once you get what you're supposed to do out of the way, they're all pretty easy to master, so going for high scores is easy to try, just like any good WarioWare type game. And there are things like the theater, the wheel, and the ability to customize your Peter that incentivize you to keep playing. The problem is, you're never gonna actually do that. As I'm sure you know by now, this, like most Adult Swim games, is no longer available. And Peter Panic does this really cool thing where instead of being a paid game, it's a free game, where you get to pay for the ability to save your game. Which, back when it first came out, was probably a pretty good deal. Like I said, the microgames are super fun, and there are things that will make you want to keep playing. If I had the ability, I'd probably grind out the coins for this Flappy Bird clone. But without the ability to save your game, it becomes fucking pointless. You could probably still crack out the story in about an hour though, hell, I did. As you get to the end of each stage, the last microgames will become more and more overtly satanic until the story fully changes to be about Peter fighting a demon. This is certainly a personal opinion, but I found the cutscenes to be mostly annoying rather than entertaining. Except for the part where Greg Kirkhope shows up. That was awesome. I don't know, I was enjoying them at the start, but then as the game goes on, they just get long and a lot less funny. Plot points like the demon or the side characters wanting to get with Peter aren't exactly entertaining, and the latter actively brings the game to a halt with no resolution as far as I know. Actually, you know what, add the part where you meet the demon's mom to a list of exceptions. That part was awesome.
So confused.
Let me see that tush of yours. It's time for a spanking.
Oh, okay, that's better than losing my eyes.
Ow. Ow.
This is weird.
I would love to show you the ending, but like I said, if you close the game, you lose all your progress. So when I got to the final level after an hour, I took a 5-minute break, turned off my phone, and lost all my progress. Oh, let me just... Aha! 640 views. Okay. So Peter defeats the demon, convinces him to join the theater, and Peter learns to panic no more. I really want to like this game. If I had the chance, I probably would have actually paid for the save file so I could play in my off time just as a thing to do. But as it stands, with no way to save, I see no reason to play.
Wasted goes, Well, I'll let them explain.
The year is 1980. Tensions are at a boiling point between the US and the USSR after a thermonuclear blast eviscerates a small US Air Force base in the rural town of Damascus, Arkansas.
The US are swift to respond, firing a retaliatory strike at the USSR, which is dismissed by a Soviet officer as a false positive by their early detection satellites. As the American Titan II missiles plow through the Soviet countryside, the USSR is only able to mount a meager counterattack from remote satellite locations before it is completely wiped off the face of the Earth. China and France, in light of this sudden and terrifying American aggression, launched strikes of their own against the US. And after a short but intense series of reprisals, the world is razed to the ground by nuclear-armed fire, and human civilization along with it. Yet mankind is not doomed. During the Cold War, the great, the good, and the gilded invested heavily in next-generation bomb shelters, enormous self-sustaining subterranean cryogenic compounds designed to preserve life until the outside world becomes habitable again. Compounds which, due to cost-cutting business measures in the name of competition and industrial espionage, failed to work entirely. Coolers. Bathed in lethal radiation, the greatest minds of the 20th century and all living memory of culture, technology, and agriculture are lost, while on the surface, the very hardiest specimens of humanity cling to life, survive, then thrive. From the ashes, a new world emerges, and Earsat's post-apocalyptic, stillborn 80s continues indefinitely, populated entirely by the toughest, meanest, and outright dumbest of God's creations, the Wasters. Years later, however many know can say, even those who can count, the barren desert landscape of the Western Wastes is host of bitter, factionalized warfare. The Wasters fight tooth and nail over the most precious of natural resources, a liquid from beneath the sands that fuels all of uncivilization. Buried deep within the cooler's chambers, the very radiation that killed off society's chosen few imbued their potable provisions with a sick green glow and a radioactive buzz. Ooze, the affectionately termed known. And those dumb enough to weather its taste found themselves taking a sharp detour off the human evolutionary highway, mutating in strange and confounding ways, and acquiring both permanent brain damage and a ravenous addiction to the stuff.
Against this backdrop of organized chaos, the Wasters scrabble in the dirt looking for just a drop of the good stuff. And the right guy in the wrong place at the right time with the wrong drink could be a major headache for those who seek power.
I swear I'm not trying to constantly repeat myself, nor am I saying anything about games being based on other games. In actuality, I think it's really fun when an indie developer makes their own version of their favorite game. You're not gonna make Paper Mario the way we like it, we'll make our own. You're not gonna make a new Wario Land, we'll make our own. You're not gonna make a good Jet Set Radio, we'll make our own. What if we made Sonic Adventure 3, but it was with guys? And also had this guy in it. Wasted takes heavy inspiration from the first-person RPGs from Bethesda. I mean, it's almost entirely based off Fallout alone, like 90%. The only reason I cast the net over every Bethesda RPG is because of how combat is split up. So while there are dialogue options in Wasted, it is primarily a combat-focused game. You cannot reason with anyone. They are going to try and kill you. I even hazard to call this game an RPG. I think truly the only thing that makes Fallout combat fun is the VAT system. Being able to zoom in and aim at precise body parts, that makes the game. So if you, I don't know, hypothetically created an online-only version of the game without the VAT system, or I don't know, hypothetically created a near exact replica of Fallout except the combat is worse and you just meander around empty planets the whole time. You know, hypothetically. At this point, I'm really just using Wasted as an excuse to complain about Bethesda games. So fuck it, let's go full throttle Scorched Earth. Earlier, I said, verbatim, quoting myself, Wasted takes heavy inspiration from the first-person RPGs from Bethesda. Now, you may have focused there on the words Bethesda, or RPG, or inspiration, but I think we should focus on the word heavy. Wasted takes inspiration from these Bethesda RPGs. This has been established, but that also means it takes the good with the bad. I can carry maybe 8 or 9 things before my bag inventory gets too full and I have to stop the game dead in its tracks to remove my pants. Also, I take them off in the video game. This is an issue pervasive in Bethesda RPGs, but somehow it's so much worse here. You have so little inventory space, to the point where halfway through playing, I just stopped picking things up. If I can get by with my candy and my default costume and my baseball bat, then I'm good to go. I don't need anything else. I know it's become an Andrewism in this video to just not get very far in games, but I promise you, despite all the footage looking like the same location, this is the game. You see, it's like Fallout in its combat and setting in abnormally small pockets. I know it's supposed to be realistic, but could I not just like sling a sack over my shoulder, Santa style? Could I not get one of those hobo sticks? However, this game is not about venturing through the barren landscape of a decrepit and destroyed state. This game actually delves inside the vault exclusively. The goal, ultimately, is to see how deep you can get into said vault until you inevitably die of some terrible ailment. And like any other modern RPG, I spent the majority of the opening dedicated to perfecting my original character, Waste Ed. Ed eventually meets a grisly fate of his own, but then all of his assets are seized by Shree Kirby, who herself is replaced by Pam Hatanos after dying in Goop, according to the game, even though she was clearly shot in the head. Pam Hatanos was then replaced by
Juicy.
Napoleon Magruder, but Recruiter faced a fresh knuckle sandwich and was replaced by Jeff Callahan, and then Jeff stopped playing the game after a decent run. I will concede I think it's a really good gag and game mechanic to have you sink time into creating your own original character, and then if they die, they're just dead forever. And now you play as some other randomly generated guy or gal.
Juicy.
Or Juicy. There's a lot of fun to be had here. I mean, the game itself is a pretty dedicated modding community. And by still, I mean the mods were made years ago, but they haven't been deleted yet. That's a good sign. I'm glad that a lot of these games still have their leaderboards or communities up and supported. There was a genuine fear that all of these games would be delisted and lost at some point. That Warner Media would just sit on a giant throne of discarded projects that they legally own, but have no intention of doing anything with. But hey, Sinners was good. I know I badmouthed it earlier, but could you imagine the characters we could get if Multiverses was still around? Smoke and Stack Duo Fighter, Aunt Gladys Puppet Fighter, Tony Todd from Final Destination, and Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. Fuck it, put Peacemaker in the game. Who cares? Where was I at? Oh, right. Starfield was so fucking boring. Headlander stars the eponymous head, and of course by that I mean the head with the mustache. The game gives you a choice of head in the opening, but was there ever really any decision? This is clearly the one true head.
And I'm through. Y'all should be hearing me on your helmet radio now. I know y'all got a lot of questions, but there ain't no point in trying to talk. Cause you ain't got no lungs. Y'all just come out of stasis.
Our head wakes up in the sarcophagus to the voice of what sounds like a sultry southern prospector before being attached to a temporary body. Everybody in the world of Headlander is temporary, and I mean that as everybody, not everybody. If you couldn't tell by the title already. The meat of this game is detaching your one true head from your current body of choice and flying around obstacles and into vents that are perfectly head-sized. You encounter these Red Rangers with weapons that, for whatever reason, do not want their heads removed from their bodies. But you need their bodies to open the specific color-coordinated door. Red doors open for red enemies, orange doors open for orange enemies. Later in the game, you have to put your head on a Roomba to access a cleaning door. Your head is not just any head. Like the real human head, it can also download and store data, like downloading map data from the rolling kiosks, or turning off security measures using your brain power. Also a powered vacuum attached at the neck.
Use your vacuum drive to suck off that tube hash.
I have to what? The red ones pack heat, which obviously can be a detriment to your pretty little head, but once you're piloting these bodies, now you hold the power. I say you because you all should know by now that I am a terrible shot, but luckily in this game, there's no ammo limit. I can shoot to my head's content. That's not to say that you don't run any risk. Like in real life, the body is a fragile and fleeting thing. Your current body can be destroyed beyond repair, making you have to pull a daring escape and rip off another head. We talk a lot about the suck, since it's the most convenient way to play, but you can also use whatever weaponry you have at your disposal to shoot the enemy's heads clean off. Sorry, blow the enemy's heads smooth off, but I can't because, well, I'm a terrible shot. If you hold the aim button, you can see the trajectory of your laser, and in most scenarios, you can angle your shot so that it will ricochet straight into the lesser heads. I mean, they're robots. They don't have feelings. Oh, unless they do. You can pick up side quests along the way, like this robot lady who's lost her robot dog, which you can bring back to her by taking over the body of said dog, and then bring it back to her and leave. And the quest is completed even though she now has a headless dog. Hey, it's me, Johnny Quasar, and this is my bestest pal, my robot dog Goddard. I can't tell if she doesn't care, or if we as the player aren't supposed to care. The lasers in the suckage aren't the only way to do damage, as your body of choice has the ability to shove and melee attack, but that really only works next to these insta-kill lasers or large falls. But what I've learned is that if you eject your head right before the body runs off the edge, you can get the body places it wasn't really planned to without sustaining any major damage. I mean, any damage we can see. The body always keeps the score. Stay calm. The ship is self-destructing. The entire world is built on colored access to doors that I don't have access to. I just mentioned these constant lasers. Early on, they act as obstacles, but once you unlock the ability to create a traumatic shield around your head, you can traverse them with relative ease. Relative ease. I was sort of worried when my mustached head started collecting these shinies and I got to an upgrade menu. Not that I inherently dislike games with this kind of progression system. It should be abundantly clear by now that I loved Donkey Kong Bonanza. But this RPG upgrade menu actually acts more for unlocking abilities to help you access locations previously unreachable to the novice player. I hazard to directly compare this game to Metroid, but I mean, you see the same map I do. But while a game like Metroid builds off of atmosphere, a game like this uses dialogue to build its world. Like the room that is hyped up as the pleasure chamber, and then when you walk in, it's just a high five room.
So forceful.
What it is, what it is. What it is, what it is. I'm lost in space, man. What it is, what it is. What it is, what it is.
Oh, okay. I guess we ran out of lines. Headlander has character. It has scope. It utilizes simple mechanics and slowly builds on them without losing what makes the game work in the first place. Everyone has something to say to me, with dialogue changing depending on what body you're piloting.
Keep on trucking.
Wait. What did you just say to me? Headlander is a game where you are a disembodied head and you land on things. I feel like I'm missing something. Like my spine should exist somewhere in this retro-futuristic world. Oh well.
Chalupas I defend.
Yeah, Robert, we're done with the chalupas now, okay?
Chalupa with his arms of modern steam-powered engine of the future. $6.99 for a value meal. $6.99 for a value meal. Aww.
Small radios, big televisions. Small Radios, Big Televisions, or SRBT, is a point-and-click puzzle game developed by Fireface and published by Adult Swim Games on November 8, 2016. In SRBT, the player explores 5 abandoned factories. Each factory in the game serves as a level. The point of each level is to collect cassette tapes. These tapes allow the player to traverse into other worlds, most of them with pretty basic names: Street, Vista, and Tundra, but they're all very gorgeous. Inside of these worlds are these little green duders called emotion cubes. These emotion cubes allow you to unlock doors to progress further into the factories. Unfortunately, while the worlds you visit are incredibly complex and beautiful, upon first use they may not yield an emotion cube. This is where another feature of the game comes in handy in the form of magnetic fields. Feeding tapes into the fields will alter the world on the tape and yield emotional cubes. When first starting out, you may have to do this once. However, the worlds within the tapes are corrupted and unrecognizable. Additionally, hidden within the first 4 factories' ventilation systems are lenses. Now, what do these lenses do? Well, after completing the factories with these lenses, you are given a cutscene, which help to flesh out the world of SRBT. In these cutscenes, 2 voices are heard on radio discussing the events that took place before arrival. These factories we plunder once served as last bastions for humanity, as they work to potentially prevent the inevitable, filtering air and water to survive, and hopes things one day will get back to normal. To further distance themselves from their impending demise, they use the tapes we collect to send themselves to other worlds that feel real. In one of the later cutscenes, we hear them discussing the effects these tapes have on the user, making them feel as if they're really there. We, the player, aren't fully immersed as someone may be looking out for us, leaving emotion cubes to prevent us from falling in. and allowing us to progress further into the factories. Huh. Hidden vents, an unseeable protector, test rooms. Where have I seen this before? Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this brief look at SRBT and hope it interested you. Thank you so much for BH Ultra for allowing me to participate in this collab, as well as the YouTube channel 8 Bits of Velvet for having walkthroughs of this game. I'm not the best when it comes to puzzle games, so that really provided great help. Anyways, thank you so much, and on to the next one.
Glittermitten Grove is a simple game about building homes for magical fairies to reside in, making them feel comfortable and spreading love all over the world. Well, that's probably enough for one section. Let's read the reviews of what others had to say about this lovely game. If you're going into this without the knowledge what it's a part of, you're only getting a fraction of the experience. One day in 2012, a browser game would appear on the internet under the name Frog Fractions, with the initial pitch of teaching children and even some adults about the wonders of fractions, which looked innocuous and silly at first, quickly spread through word of mouth, most recommending the game by concealing its truth, saying they can't say anything about it. It's just one of those games that you have to play for yourself to understand. Or you could watch this video. Frog Fractions begins as a simple keyboard and mouse game. You control a frog who eats bugs and protects fruit. If the bugs reach the fruit, they will fall into the pond, but if you stand under the fruit before they fall, you can catch them. But ignoring the bugs for a second, what the frog is actually doing is using its tongue to collect fractions, which goes towards the frog's score count, which itself is a fraction. The game also features an indignity meter. If the eponymous frog gets too indignant, the screen turns a sharp red like a copyrighted BH Ultra video. As you collect more upgrades throughout the playing field, like lock-on targeting, uninstalling lock-on targeting, reinstalling lock-on targeting, uninstalling lock-on targeting, which changes the way the game is played. Some levels the fractions become decimals, some levels the game becomes a typing game, sometimes the game becomes a bullet hell. Some days you fly to Mars in a Gradius and Star Fox style action sequence, and then you must face off against what may or may not be young Albert Einstein. Also, the game ends with you deciding how much bug porn to generate. Suffice it to say, this game was special.
You're under arrest. No, I don't want to be under arrest.
Oh, what the hell, Mr. Hupp? The charges against you are severe. You're accused of breaking and entering into our native habitat, Bug Mars, with an intent to purloin our delicious space fruit. How do you plead?
Amphibious, Your Honor.
Hello? What? It's a walrus guy watching telly. What? It's a merman walrusman.
Are we playing DDR now?
DDR? I have to dance?
Dance your way through this argument.
Okay. Frog Fractions was created almost single-handedly by Jim Crawford, although the project would not be possible without the additional art of Rachel Sala, Juan Ramirez, and Shannon Thompson, and music by Chris J. Hampton, Charles Roy, Danny Alley, and Louis Gorenfeld. I list the creative credits to accentuate how small of a team this really was, and like any other strange and exciting game from 2012, a sequel was announced via Kickstarter in 2014, but for a game as absurd as Frog Fractions, it was never going to be that simple of a story. If I'm going to talk about an alternate reality game, can I get the creepy music and VHS effect? Thank you. The spookiest, scariest, lost episode of Back at the Barnyard. See, I said it normal that time. You can stop complaining. Most of the story was sourced from the Kernel of Truth subreddit, GameDetectives.net, and a historical recorded video by Postgrad. My recollection will by no means be comprehensive. I've given everyone attached to this project a 10-minute time limit for all of their sections, and I must abide by that rule. All of that to say,
we've got a plan to fix this, but it won't work without your help. Your help. Your help. Your help.
I've hijacked the MPEG stream. Ready? We're sending this message from the year 2023. We've studied this phenomenon for a decade, and though we've made some sense of it, we're losing our pool of remaining fusible mass to the decay even faster than we can burn it.
During During the time travel shenanigans, a blackboard can be spotted with several lines of text, most importantly featuring a link to twinbeard.com. However, plugging in the URL would actually take you to twinbread.com. The About section of this website featured several instances of the word kernel, just like the use of the term kernel of truth in the Kickstarter trailer, thus sprouting the subreddit, as well as an audio file. Circling back to the blackboard from the trailer, if the code EOLO5387 is typed into twinbread.com, not to be confused with twinbeard.com, the website with bread all over it, it results in this ASCII art. Zooming further into the source code could yield a video link to the YouTube upload Kernel of Truth. This is one of the few videos in this alternate reality game that I don't just play outright because the sound is so loud and ear bleeding. This played on my TV in the middle of the night. I have neighbors. More importantly in the video, there seems to be a Commodore 64 at the bottom of the frame. And what's interesting is that the ROM operating system core for the Commodore 64 is named Kernel. Processing the loud beeping through the kernel system yielded this. All right, now this one is a little safer to play. But forget about that. None of what I just said is actually important. That was the tutorial. This exists to train the player in the alternate reality hunt to use Kickstarter trailer in tandem with audio decryptors and decoders. The Make Bread tab over at twinbeard.com, not to be confused with twinbread.com, which features no bread whatsoever, features a string of text that you could plug into the text adventure section of the original Frog Fractions. Oh, right. After diving deep underwater and flying to Mars, Frog Fractions devolves into a text-based adventure game with very limited options of play. But plugging the string of text into that game results in Obama Shaving Simulator. Barack Hussein Obama was the 44th president of the United States, running 2 terms back-to-back after being elected in 2000. Oh god, that clock is still ticking. Obama Shaving Simulator is a game where you get to shave the, at the time, president of the United States. And after the game is beaten, it will send the player to a Twitter account titled @OBeardy, which either doesn't exist anymore, was never real, or Twitter account registered to the name is involved somehow. What is that disgusting creature? I don't think this is related, and I'm not convinced the Twitter account was ever real, because after each completion of Obama Shaving Simulator, the replies to the Obeardy Twitter account will mix and match. They're randomized in the sense that you can get a different crop every time, but not randomized as in they're randomly generated. They can't be, because on occasion a reply would appear that features coordinates that lead to UC Berkeley's campus in California. Within the same tweet, it says to meet there at a specific time and date, 2014 4:05, 3 p.m. local time, which is April 5th, 2014. And once April 5th came about, this video surfaced on YouTube, featuring the lead developer Jim Crawford getting held at gunpoint by a video game light gun that looks as if it was taken right from an arcade cabinet. This detail also isn't mentioned anywhere, but other indie games will be tied into this game later, so I have to point out that these players are following an exact script, which leads me to believe that they are friends of Jim or actors hired for this video. But also, the tall one in the back is wearing a hat that may or may not be modeled after the one from A Hat in Time.
Cannot interfere with the timeline!
Save yourselves!
Do not interfere with the timeline!
As the time travelers kidnap Jim, he drops a crinkled brown bag. The contents of this bag were shortly posted online, featuring several knickknacks like a frog statue, a sword, and several floppy disks wrapped up like grilled cheese. And of these files, 5 of which featured images taken from a non-existent bug calendar, which GameDetectives.net lists as bug porn, featuring bugs of the month for February, April, June, October, and December. Now, those are all even numbers, except for mysteriously missing the number 8. So it goes 2, 4, 6, 10, 12. How much time we got left? Okay, lightning round. A code to a Mario Maker level is tweeted out. The level itself contains a hidden code PWD:screamed, which could be used as an account login on the unearthed website time.travel.club. Another in-person event was held where the next physical treasure along the hunt was a Luigi amiibo. How much time? Looking into the properties of Crypto the Necrodancer on Steam will contain a JPEG file titled I that looks like this. How much time? With the word soup hidden within the sigil eventually found, leads to a link of its own. How much time? Okay, so President Obama...
Frog Fractions 2 has been found. We have solved the ARG, I guess. You can play Frog Fractions 2, but it's inside of another game.
The ever-evasive Frog Fractions 2, by the artist's own decree, was always planned to be hidden within another game. Even after the Kickstarter goal was reached, even after the final video was released and the key was turned, the game was released, but it still remained hidden. So much so, along with its constant relation to other indie games and their interactive mysteries, every new game released, especially on Steam, was met with the phrase, Is this Frog Fractions 2? Which became a running joke and thus a meme in the community and then outside the community.
Do you have anything to say to aspiring game designers?
This video might be Frog Fractions 2.
You heard it here first.
With the inkling that if Frog Fractions 2 was ever to be released, it would be hidden within another game. Which takes us to Adult Swim Games' Glittermitten Grove.
Hey, what is that?
That's a door.
That's a door. There's a door?
That's a door.
Oh god, your Ferris is dying. Maybe there's treasure behind that door.
What's behind the door?
Oh no! Oh no, the jig is up! Ah! Oh, the jig is up!
Oh god, okay. So arrows.
If this game solely exists as a Trojan horse to answer the Frog Fractions 2 mystery, why am I not just talking about that game?
Be Kiki, back to talk about Frog Fractions 2. But before I can talk about Frog Fractions 2, we should talk about Frog Fractions. Frog Fractions was a 2012 browser game where you play as a frog attempting to eat bugs to protect the floating fruit above your pond. But then something interesting happens. Discussion of frog fractions and the secret of frog fractions on the internet is strictly prohibited. Kiki Corp strongly suggests playing frog fractions before interacting with any internet content about frog fractions. Thank you for your cooperation.
Lily's Quest 2. While the first game is pretty good, the second one is when it really comes into its own.
No! I'll save you again, Lulu! Again and again and again, as if I were the hero of a long-running video game franchise!
It's here that I want to be the guy energy comes out in full force, as you never know how the game is going to change up the rules. Like look, a mushroom, video game power-up staple. I can't wait to see what it does.
Hard to breathe. Poison.
Sheesh. There are tons of moments like this, and some of them really got me. Like, all of a sudden this background cactus is a threat.
Fair enough.
There are way more levels and themes this time too. Even an Atari themed one, to let you know the Lily's Quest team gets us gamers. It's also a bit harder too. I had way more trouble on the boss this time around than in the first one. But all in all, a solid game series. The art is charming, the controls are good, and the humor is spot on. I think I can confidently say I've never had more fun with blue balls.
So Lily found Lulu and they lived happily ever after. The end!
Rise and Shine begins with a Gears of War soldier and Link shooting each other to death. And then the hero of time gives the child a gun. It's that kind of game. Hey there, you've just entered Lightspace, and I'm the Lightspace Man. Please enjoy the broadcast. Released on PC in 2017 under the Adult Swim Games label, Rise and Shine is the classical story of a boy and man's best friend.
I have the power of God!
Or Shine, a talking gun that speaks entirely in snarky one-liners. Rise uses this magical weapon to blast enemies, solve puzzles, and try not to die. Rise and Shine is a game about war, just not in the way you usually see. It's a battle of eras in gaming, modern versus retro, and it's the core idea that informs both the wacky meta story and its mechanics. The first thing that will probably jump out at someone when looking at Rise and Shine is its detailed and varied level design. The hand-drawn backgrounds create beautiful landscapes, whether they be corrupted, war-torn battlefields or tranquil island vistas. It's clearly where the team placed a lot of its focus, and it seems to be a specialty of the devs at, let me just make sure I have this right here. Super Awesome Hyperdimensional Mega Team. Now that's a brand that screams confidence. But is it more than just a pretty face? Rise and Shine wasn't exactly what I was expecting at first glance. It looks like a modern-ish take on arcade classics like Metal Slug or even its later counterparts like Alien Hominid, and there is some of that DNA in there, but in practice it's more of a bullet-themed series of puzzles than a run-and-gun shooter. In fact, it almost seems to be mocking that expectation at times. You do not want to run and gun in this game, because if you do, you'll be dead before you even know what hit you. I'm typically more of an action guy than a puzzle guy, so this theming doesn't go unappreciated by me. I found the puzzles to be intuitive and fun, because I solved them without looking up a guide, and that's kind of my only criteria. The whole game has that puzzle-like feel, including the combat, and that's where the modern versus arcade concept I mentioned comes in. For all its references and retro aesthetics, it's mostly a cover shooter. It's unique in that I can't remember ever having played a 2D cover shooter. Enemy prioritization is more important to winning than your aim. It's an interesting style, but it has its drawbacks. Rise and Shine is very set-piece driven, and that's not a problem in itself. Most of them are pretty good. I especially like this one with the zombies in the underground tunnel. It's pitch black unless you're aiming. It sells the atmosphere it's going for well. But arcade-style games are designed for fast runs, efficient routing, and consistent mechanics that incentivize replayability. Much like those games, Rise and Shine isn't very long. You can finish it in a couple of hours if you know what you're doing, but at that point there isn't much of a reason to go back to it. The only problem with a set piece is that once you've seen it, you'll know the one way to solve it every time. There's no scoring system or New Game Plus to keep you coming back to improve your skills, other than an Iron Man mode. Nah, not for me, thanks. And there's not much use in trying to use the handful of weapon augments you get outside of puzzle solving anyway. I wouldn't call it a hard game, but it doesn't let you mess around like that. You know that Sequelitis episode, the Mega Man X one, where he explains how games teach you by playing through visual cues? This game doesn't always do that. It's more than happy to just kill you and laugh about it, which is why it never sets you back very far. Mind you, I didn't say I was good at games. If it seems like I'm doing alright, it's because I cut out the many times I died. So your mileage may vary. They even turned it into a puzzle, which I thought was pretty clever. I'd say it's the funniest puzzle in the game, which reminds me, this is kind of a parody game if you haven't noticed, so it's trying to be funny, and we should talk about that. Rise and Shine is not a game about war. That was a lie, I lied to you. Rise and Shine is a game about games, specifically the gaming trends that were happening around the time it came out. A time when the worst thing that could happen to gaming seemed to be getting taken over by modern military shooter aesthetics. Things were simpler back then. I mean, it's set on the planet Game Earth during an attack by the formerly peaceful Next-Genians. It's not subtle. It's all about homaging and parodying classic gaming tropes. To mixed results, I would say. I don't want to be too hard on the game's humor. 2015 or 16 or whenever they were writing this was like 1,000 years ago in internet culture. And I'm keeping it in that context, but even with that said, the story can't rise above feeling a little like a webcomic from 2007. It's not terrible, it just isn't asking to be taken very seriously, so I'm not. But it didn't hit me as all that funny most of the time. It has its moments though. I think the edginess manages to swing around to being quaint, charming.
Oh my god, it's not funny.
Mario f***ing dies. The meta jokes and violence will come off as more or less juvenile depending on the person. Spoilers for an almost 10-year-old game, but it ends with Rise defeating the evil Gears of War army and his evil Star Wars dad by just deleting them from the game. Oh, so the regenerating health is on his dad's side. Is that a dumb way to end a game? It could be, but I think it's neat. And if there's one gag that justifies it all, it's this.
Ah, you mother... Oh, son of a bitch.
No, wait. Can I?
Your life is nothing. You serve zero purpose.
I like metagames. Stuff like No More Heroes and Hotline Miami are in my all-time favorites. Rise and Shine story isn't trying to be anything that thoughtful or biting, but it's fine for what it is. This is the part where I would usually mention the music, so there you go, I mentioned it. Nah, it's not a bad soundtrack, it's just a little stock. It's alright at selling the retro adventure vibe, but it never stood out to me as something worth listening to outside of playing it. The last thing I want to ask, mostly just for fun, is where does this fit into the Adult Swim library? Does it have that Adult Swim feel? There is a variety to the styles of Adult Swim shows, but there's a general through line of absurdity that obviously inform their lineup of games. So does Rise and Shine fit that vibe at all? Well, with its bright, clean aesthetic and somewhat cutesy character designs, you might think it's more inspired by Cartoon Network shows like Adventure Time than Adult Swim. But don't be fooled, this game is evil. It will murder you and feel nothing. That's where the best jokes come from in this game. That contrast between upbeat, pastel cartooniness and over-the-top violence actually reminds me of Super Jail or Rick and Morty. The shows that like to mess with your expectations based on what they look like. And that's what I liked about this game. As an Adult Swim fan, I got that crazy energy I was looking for. So that's Rise and Shine, a flawed and beautiful little Adult Swim gem that proves there's no problem that can't be solved with a bullet. Thanks for having me on, guys. Check out the Light Space Man channel, and I will see you in the next one.
Desync is what kids nowadays refer to affectionately as a movement shooter, and derogatorily as movement slop. Up there with the new Bubsy? Why the hell did they pick me for this? Why does this keep happening? You want me, BH Ultra, the guy who can't even aim in 2D games, you want me to talk about a high-speed, movement-based, collectible and upgrade-focused, dual-wielding, weapon-switching, platforming, evading, synth music, laser tag arena, optical illusion, doom, hurt sound, modern-day, moving reference boomer shooter? Well, this game actually fucking rules. I had so much fun with it. Look at all the cool shit I did. Alright, now we should hear from someone who actually knows what they're talking about. All killer and no filler. Rick and Morty virtual Rick-ality doesn't fucking work. I'm realizing now that I haven't said anything today, and I'm talking for the first time. It's weird to hear the sound of my voice. Listen, a business expense is a business expense, but I spent money on this $1,000 Valve Index, and I thought, you know what? Maybe I should bust it out for more than one video. Maybe I actually have the opportunity to go back to it. And I was excited about the prospect, about going back into VR. I only played like 4 games last time. I wanted this to be a regular thing, akin to that McDonald's character, or I guess the cow costume whenever I talk about wrestling episodes now, like a regular segment. Oh, this game has a VR section. Let's get the Index that I paid money for, and let's play that. I was excited. This is one of the few ones that I actually picked preemptively, and I was excited to play it. I would have played Rick and Morty virtual Rick-ality. I thought I could make it funny at the very least. You know how long it took to set this back up? This was in storage. I never used this thing, because I never have an excuse to use this thing. It took like an hour to set it up. The last time I used this microphone, I dropped it in glue, so I hope it doesn't sound like glue right now. So what am I supposed to do? I moved all this I need to put the furniture back now. All right, from here on out, I'm editing videos inside this. I need to get some use out of it somewhere. Wait a minute, there's a thing on my wrist. Sorry, I got ice on my wrist. Hey guys, it's iPhone Andrew. The Andrew that exists only when filmed on an iPhone. We're introducing a lot of characters today. I'm editing the footage I just filmed right now. Still, I've let the anger die down a little bit. And I'm realizing when looking at this FNAF VR footage that that game was pitched as a part of PlayStation's add-on peripheral, PlayStation VR. And I that one's probably easier to use, so it's occurred to me that my Astrobot machine could maybe play the Rick and Morty game. You know, my machine I use to play Astrobot, and nothing else, because there's nothing else on it. But I don't want to buy another VR headset. I definitely don't want to buy one for a console that, I mean, granted, Astrobot is a very good game. It's occurring to me now that you guys can't actually see any of what I see right now. Oh, one of my friends is playing Balatro. Boop, downloaded. Choo, 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 boop, boop. Tweet, composed, Google. Virus downloaded. Well, this seems like not only a waste of time, but also a waste of money. Hello, good morning. It's me, BH Ultra. I'm kneeling in front of my desk because, as you can tell, my chair is back there right now. How many people do you know that got horrible bosses on Blu-ray? I didn't want this to be another joke segment, like, oh, the game doesn't fucking work, let's do some other shit, you know? But granted, there are a lot of games to cover here, but I allowed myself to get excited, and now I'm disappointed. But apparently it isn't just me. Apparently this is a common issue, but not specifically with the Index, because I'm seeing different people saying like, oh, it didn't work on my Oculus, it didn't work on my Vive, so on and so forth. Everyone thinks that the issue is their specific headset. Oh, it doesn't work with this brand. But I read through the discussion. Almost every different type of VR headset is listed here. And this is from 2021. I found other ones from 23. None of them are from this year. Granted, nobody's playing the game anymore. Apparently the most simple and easy fix is changing your system environment variables to key that and value that. This also works with other Roiland game Trover Saves the Universe. Oh, I'm glad Roiland's getting a VIG from this.
Hi, I'm Jared the Subway Guy.
Do I look like a computer to you? Do I look like I know what a key and a value is? I barely figured out Steam VR, and it's basically just plugging shit into your computer. There have been other segments shorter than this, but I feel like I at least gotta I need to understand the game, right? Because this isn't even about the game anymore. Surely I could just watch someone else play the game and understand. Yes, I have an orthopedic seat attached to my 2021 Razer gaming chair. The doctor said my balls were simply too large. That's not even like an impressive... Whatever.
Hey y'all, this is Fast Food Fred.
Wait, this is the Predator one, right? Is he a Predator, or did he just like... cheat on his wife?
Hi, I'm Jared.
There really was an era of, for lack of a better term, like, Game Grumps connective adjacent tissue, where the Let's Play scene were all, like, friends with the co-creator of Rick and Morty. And I mean, the show is popular, don't get me wrong, the show is popular. I think the same thing is sort of happening now with Smiling Friends, where a lot of YouTubers were and are friends with the co-creator, and also the show is popular, so it's gonna hit that boom. You guys think Smiling Friends Season 3 is gonna be like Rick and Morty Season 3? Wouldn't that be interesting?
Maybe I'm Eye Patch Morty. Maybe I'm Evil Morty. You're C-137.
He's not evil.
Award system for
the game's like stupid on purpose, right? Like the idea is that you load it up, you're like, oh shit, the world of Rick and Morty and virtual reality, and you're just a Meeseeks doing like manual chores. I think I get the point. Is this entire Let's Play, this is the most replayed section. Why is that?
And workbench, whatever. What is this? Oh, it's the mouse. Okay. Lick, lick, lick my balls. Right. We're probably not going to want porn.
Okay.
And Morty, and I get to see what
This is just making me envious. I wanted to be the Jack guy in this. I wanted to fucking... Why do I even have the green screen? Well, this is disappointing. I imagine it's as disappointing for... Can you see all my cool tapes over there? And my Singing in the Rain laser disc? Not only is this disappointing for me, but I imagine it's disappointing for you. I know how much you guys really wanted to see me in the world of Rick and Morty. I guess I'll never be in Rick and Morty. Can I be like that one guy who, like... That was a morbid joke. I was gonna make a joke about the dude who... I see you. Not The Last Airbender. That would make sense. No, it's the blue people. She's blue for an amazing reason. Alright, well this is just a waste of time now. I don't know if you could tell, but I have duct tape on the carpet. The carpet's really dirty. I put that there when working on the best and worst modern musical episode, so the end of 2023, for blocking purposes, so I would remember where the podium and the mic stand and I were supposed to stand, and I have not been able to get the duct tape off, but it's mostly covered up by furniture, so I don't think it's gonna change the deposit at all.
Young guy eats too much junk food and gains a lot of weight.
Battle Chef Brigade is kinda weird. I don't think anyone else on planet Earth was looking for a shonen sports manga style game about cooking that's half Atelier and half Puyo Puyo, except me, baby. Who would have possibly guessed mixing two of the most addictive gameplay loops into one game would be a slam dunk? Well, okay, it's not a slam dunk, but some points were scored. And I already made a sports metaphor just now, so let's go the rest of this review about a cooking game not ever doing a food metaphor. The gameplay revolves around these cook-offs against the various rival guys you come across. These are represented in-game through these mini puzzle challenges done in a match 3 style in a very small 4x4 grid. Very Puyo Puyo quest, actually. It definitely starts pretty simple, but with all the different ingredients and utensil bonuses, it quickly becomes a pretty complex little challenge. That being said, I'm not crazy about just how often you're going to have to go into battle unprepared with the wrong setup and either have to struggle through it or retry. Gives me a lot of flashbacks to the Kanto arc of Pokemon, where literally every gym leader Ash had to get washed by at least once and then tried again. It's not the end of the world though, but it can definitely be a bit tedious. And like every good Iron Chef episode, sometimes you gotta go kill a dragon to prepare the ingredients. Said ingredient prep is the other half of the game, and it's represented by a kinda mid 2D action game. Now, don't get it twisted. I love killing things and collecting materials as much as the next guy. It's just that you can really tell that this game was conceived with these two sides in mind, but that the cooking is way more interesting and fleshed out and naturally fun, and the whole game would be about 3 times better if it literally just focused on the cooking. Not that the combat is even terrible, it's just kinda holding on for dear life to justify itself. There is some cool elements like the cost-benefit analysis you gotta do before going into a cook-off. Do I kill the smaller enemies for easy but worse materials, or do I kill the big guys for less but better materials? Definitely leads to some fun moments here and there, but I cannot think of a single time where I didn't just go after whatever was the strongest and then use that to win. The story is your typical underdog narrative. Mina likes to cook, she sets off on her own to do so and meets a bunch of weird and quirky guys on the way. There's definitely a lot of charm to it, but actually if there's any big issue I have with this game, it's the kind of pedestrian story and writing that you get from a lot of indie games like this. And it would be less of a problem if it wasn't such a huge focus of the game. I kinda lied. This game isn't just a binary of battle and chef. The story takes up the vast majority of your playtime. The world and characters are also lovingly realized through the stupidly gorgeous animations and these pseudo-anime character designs. Feels right at home in a game that was published by Adult Swim Games. They want you to love this world, but nothing really compelled me, and it hit a point where I, a dyed-in-the-wool JRPG guy, was skipping a lot of the text by the end. I just think so many more indie games would be a whole point higher if they just gave up on writing. And AAA games, frankly. Maybe I am just a Grinch though. I can really see this appealing to a certain type of person, especially if you are a fan of the Atelier meets Puyo Puyo stuff. I like a lot about it, and I feel like it's only a sequel away from being an amazing battle puzzle game, but sadly Trinket Games is working on something else right now. A deck builder mecha game that looks pretty sick, honestly, but only time will tell if we'll end up in a similar kind of zone of, yeah, this is pretty good. 3 out of 5.
Pool panic. Pool
Pool Panic is the sequel to Peter Panic in that they share no characters, no gameplay, no lore. Okay, it's not a sequel to Peter Panic. In all actuality, Pool Panic is probably the most similar to Totally Accurate Battle Simulator, in that it's meant less to be a simulation of pool and more a fun interpretation that could only be pulled off in video game form. Because while the controls of Pool Panic are fairly simple, use the controls to aim and move, right trigger to shoot, etc., it's the various areas and the levels that make the game so unique. Because as much as Pool Panic advertises itself as the least accurate pool simulator, the main idea is still the same. Get all the balls in the holes, and then finish it off with the 8-ball. In some levels, it's as simple as just getting everyone in a hole. Sometimes you gotta get everyone off the bust first. Sometimes you gotta seize the castle, defeat the guards, and then capture the Princess 8-ball. Not all balls want to be cooperative and go in the hole, however. Some balls move away from you. Some balls are too stupid to stay in place. Some balls stay super in place and actually cause a chain reaction that knock all the balls around. That being said, the game isn't exactly easy. First of all, I know I said the controls are self-explanatory, and they are, but in practice, they aren't always as easy to use as you want. There were a lot of times it looked like I was just about to barely hit a ball, only to whiff it in practice. Although, admittedly, this could be my fault. Because of this, the game is more about knowing which balls to hit when, rather than just hitting balls around randomly. That being said, you can totally just go all out and shoot randomly. That is certainly a strategy you can use. But there are awards in every level for things like time, stroke limit, and more that make it so that doing so isn't exactly a good idea. It also makes completing this game really tough. So tough that I didn't exactly get a chance to beat this game. What can I say? That's a lot of levels. And I'm no Andrew, I have to complete the Aqua Teen Hunger Force game Ultra, alright? I got a life, man. Let me just... 2.9 thousand views. Okay, that's a bit more this time. So after you beat the final boss, you walk into this big realistic hand over here and... oh my god. He's fucking real. It's like poetry. It's beautiful. It's the greatest thing I've ever seen in my life! 7 out of 10, game's alright.
Death's Gambit kinda sucks ass. But you know what game doesn't suck ass? Death's Gambit Afterlife. That game is pretty good. Those who are invested in the Wyatt Phillips cinematic universe know that I am a sycophantic glazer of all things Metroid. It's my favorite series, ever, just in general, and I have played every single game an embarrassing amount of times. However, I am nothing if not a beatific creature and offer grace to many of the lesser copycats and cousins that come my way. That is to say, I play a lot of Metroidvanias, and it takes a special case to really catch my heart, but I am pretty fond of Death's Gambit. You play as a dead guy in knight armor with blue skin and a red scarf, and oh fuck, death brings you back to life as a puppet as some sort of gambit. And like any good Soulstroidvania Nightborn game, you gotta talk to vaguely antagonistic NPCs, dodge roll against big bosses, stun them, collect resources to level up at save points, and generally explore. Combat and exploration were jank and bad in the original version, but Afterlife updated and polished so much, adding a ton of new bosses, areas, classes, etc., that it's basically a brand new game. There are still some really obnoxious things I hate about all Souls-inspired games, like boss runbacks and money ghosts, and small or hard to deal with enemies that just immediately fuck up a session before it started, but the game has a pretty great flow to it, and a steady supply of new abilities that make it more and more fun to explore. Though, do not expect a Hollow Knight level of freedom. This is very much one of those games that doesn't interweave its levels and progression like that. That's not a huge problem for me, personally, but I know some Metroidvania fans cannot possibly fathom enjoying a game where you can't just wall jump up a single wall and kill God in 30 seconds. I especially love that they took the EXP system from Souls and let you min-max your guy. You can even just say screw healing and dump all the plumes, which are your healing items, into offense, which is of course the best defense. It's always best to learn how to just not get hit at all in a boss fight, rather than to rely on healing as a crutch. This time I actually do think the story and the way it all unfolds is a pretty huge draw to the game, proving that I wasn't just a complete hater about stories in indie games when I criticized Battle Chef Brigade. So because of that, I actually won't spoil it, but just know that it's one of the very best conclusions to any indie Metroidvania that I have ever played. While the world and dark fantasy aesthetic aren't my favorite, I'm obviously leaning more towards sci-fi, techno-mysticism, that side of the genre. I do think that the game looks and sounds gorgeous. The pixel art is absolutely incredible, and even the voice acting is pretty good. There's not a whole lot to say about this game though, since it's a pretty standard kind of game that we only get more and more of every year. I think it's totally worth looking back on though. The fact that the devs literally buffed this game from forgettable mid to A-tier classic is an amazing Cinderella story, and even if it is the exact holotype of a Souls-like Metroidvania game, it's a pretty good execution of that. If you are anything like me and do nothing but wait every single day for another hit of sweet, sweet Metroid goodness, then I think you should check this one out. It's not quite as charming or revolutionary as some heavy hitters like Hollow Knight or Blasphemous, but it's still in that orbit and deserves at least to sit close to them at lunchtime.
Samurai Jack Battle Through Time is a video game, but more so than that, it's a chance at redemption. August 10th, 2001. After a cartoon broadcast of Dexter's Lab, Ed, Edd n Eddy, and then Dragon Ball Z as a part of Toonami, aired a cartoon theater presentation of Dexter director and Powerpuff alum Genndy Tartakovsky's newest creation in the form of a 3-part TV movie pilot, Samurai Jack. Samurai Jack was the perfect amalgamation of the two halves of the network at the time. The goofy cartoons made in-house to facilitate comedy and buffoonery, and the super epic action cartoons dubbed from overseas. Samurai Jack, while it did include funny or silly moments interfused with the action or atmosphere, was mainly focused on telling an ongoing narrative. A cartoon that, above all else, told its story through solemn silences, small and intricate emotions from its major players, beautiful accompanying music, and very little dialogue. And because of all of that, it's not really for me. I don't dislike the show. I understand what it is and what it meant for the network. But for the first time, the Cartoon Network would have its own ongoing narrative. A cartoon created by them, but with design principles from all over the world. Also Star Wars, they really like Star Wars. You could argue that Codename Kids Next Door had an ever-changing and developing world, but for the most part, the Cartoon Network would not get a mostly serialized original until Adventure Time? I would argue like Steven Universe was unraveling before Adventure Time got its miniseries. Samurai Jack, for a Western cartoon, was ahead of its time. The only show on this ever-changing new episode weekend lineup to have a set goal to get back to the past, to defeat the evil using the samurai's blade, and undo the future that is Aku. And then it ended. No big climactic finale, no defeat of Aku, just an open-ended story. Actually, one of the few Cartoon Network originals to not get a proper series finale. And while I didn't grow up with the show, nor did I think it was my favorite cartoon upon watching it for this video, by the time I had blossomed on the internet and found a community of people who spent their time talking, bitching about cartoons, I knew the legend of Samurai Jack. Also, like in the last season, he says he's gonna watch over this dog from now on, and we never see it again. I know a lot of time passed, but how come we never hear what happened to the dog? I talk about Jack as if it was unceremoniously and unfairly canceled, but in reality, the crew was just ready to move on. 52 half hours used to be the uniform length for any decently popular show. That way the episodes can be run in constant syndication. Nowadays, we'd be lucky if a comedic cartoon got more than 8 or 10 episodes. Samurai Jack aired its final episode in 2004, and then 5 years later, Toonami itself would leave the airways, marking the end of an era. The early 2000s and sort of the late 90s had a good run, running way farther than anyone could imagine. But now, it's basically already 2010. I was born in the 2000s, and thus grew up in the mid to late 2000s, so I would say I'm equal parts a 2000s kid and a 2010s kid. So I never held the same reverence of nostalgia for Toonami, and thus Samurai Jack. I wasn't there. But for years after the unceremonious ending of Jack and the cancellation of Toonami, fans were still waiting. If we shout loud enough, it'll only be a matter of time. A little background, Toonami was co-created by Jason DeMarco, who by 2012 had become the vice president of marketing and promotions for Adult Swim, and by extension, the Cartoon Network. Or I guess that'd be the other way around. I've gotten so used to the modern era of cartoons where there just is no Cartoon Network without Adult Swim. So it's no surprise that come April Fool's 2012, Adult Swim's yearly showing of The Room was interrupted by Tom of Toonami, hosting a full night of classic Toonami, retro bumpers with modern dubs. Hey, did you know they actually made a dedicated Toonami Rewind show where they would air retro bumpers and retro shows? Did you know that they canceled it in under a year? Also, the Swimmers made a video about the Adult Swim April Fool's jokes. Check it out on the Dan's channel. Due to the popularity of this April Fool's broadcast and its additional online campaign to hashtag Bring Back Toonami, Toonami would return in full later in May, where it still airs weekly to this day, and has been airing every Saturday without interruption. Well, aside from that one time. And if Toonami was back, it was only a matter of time until its missing piece was also restored. Samurai Jack returned for a 5th and final season, a season full of adult themes and blood and sexual tension. Finally, after 16 years, we would get a proper ending to Samurai Jack. I mean, I wouldn't, because I wasn't even watching at the time. Having now seen the full show, I think the early seasons are a bit more fun, but the 5th season is the best sum of its parts, at least at the beginning. Like, I wouldn't say the best episode or even the second best episode are in this season, but it's the most consistently enjoyable, with an exception. All I knew about this reboot at the time is that it was airing new episodes every Saturday as a part of Toonami, but when it was airing in April 2017, April 1st fell on a Saturday. So without warning, Toonami was replaced by a marathon of the season 3 premiere of Rick and Morty. So longtime Samurai Jack fans who were maybe not attuned to the other shenanigans of Adult Swim yet were not prepared for the new episode of the show they waited 15 years for to be interrupted by Mulan Szechuan sauce. They really missed the opportunity to bring that sauce back for the live-action Mulan remake, even if it was colossal dog shit. And finally, on May 20th, 2017, again 16 years after the show's 3-part movie premiere, Jack would finally defeat Aku and go back to the past to continue his life in peace. But before he could do that, he needs to kill all of Aku's daughters, except for one. Then he falls in love with the remaining daughter in the final, 4 episodes of the entire series. And then he does manage to go back to the past and defeat the evil that is Aku once and for all, as the problematic age gap love of his life he's only known for a week collapses to the ground, claiming that she felt Aku leave. And then presumably, several months pass as we have arrived at their wedding. Really had to keep those designs, huh? But before the two can be wed, Ashi collapses to the ground, explaining that if Aku never lived in the future, she could never have been born. Which, if we're going that far, then technically, if Jack never met Ashi, he'd never be able to get back to the past in the first place. So shouldn't all of this be fruitless? Shouldn't we be in a paradox? And why did it take her so long to bite it? Do you know how long weddings take to set up? What, you just had this one on standby? Surely at least the invitations took longer. How else could they get their version of Robin Hood to attend? He's a very busy man. Suffice it to say, people were not pleased with this ending. Not because it wasn't a happy ending, but because it wasn't really Samurai Jack. I suppose for better or for worse, you only really need to watch season 5. If you want to jump into the new series, you could just start with that altogether. But longtime fans were not happy. Jack never really showed any romantic interest in anyone from the original series beyond blushing whenever someone was acting sultry. The fans had to wonder, does an ending this bad actually end up ruining the legacy of Samurai Jack? Or was it all Rick and Morty's fault? Samurai Jack diehards, or Jackers as I like to call them, had to wait 16 years to see the conclusion of Samurai Jack's war against Aqua, and it ultimately amounted to an anticlimactic fight where Jack slays an Aqua who doesn't even really know him that well. But luckily, they would only have to wait another 3 years to get a better ending. Samurai Jack Battle Through Time is a 3D action beat-em-up hack-and-slash style game, and I could talk about all the character returns, the fabulous voice acting, the combat, the upgrades, the boss fights, the references, but none of that really matters. Regardless of how good or bad this game is, that will never be what the game is remembered for. Samurai Jack Battle Through Time really only exists to retcon the ending of Samurai Jack, creating a better ending that everyone can get behind. Wait, that's the ending? I always heard that this game fixed the ending. All it did was keep Ashi alive. I don't even hate Ashi. She's actually like my favorite part of Season 5. But the issue was never the timey-wimey stuff. Sure, there could be a paradox at play, but you could argue that anything that happened in the past was static to the past. It's possible Jack was always destined to return home. I mean, the ancients seem to think so. I don't think the issue with the ending was that Ashi ceased to exist. It's the fact that it took so goddamn long. Also, in the actual show's ending, Jack sits alone in the past until he is greeted by a ladybug. The implication is that Ashi's new good nature will continue to fly throughout this world. Or maybe Ashi will still be born in the future, just under different circumstances. In actuality, the ladybug likely helps him to realize the world is a beautiful place, and he can still do some good. But in the video game ending, the ladybug is still there, but it just pans over to Ashi fully alive. If you know about the ladybug scene, this doesn't feel like a proper twist. It feels like a punchline. This is the much better ending I've heard so much about, and that was every Adult Swim game published by Adult Swim Games, according to this list on Wikipedia. Or was it? Because in the time it took me to plan this video and then put it together, Adult Swim Games released their first new game since 2020, Ninja Kamuy Shinobi Origins. But that game sounds like a story for another time. Tune in 20 years' time where we cover the next 50 Adult Swim games. Well, based on how bloated game development cycles are nowadays, more realistically, 5 games. Every game nowadays takes like 3 or 4 years to create. I don't know what's gonna happen between me filming this and this video coming out, but I'm convinced Metroid Prime 4 has been delayed. Also, I'm probably playing Silk Song now, so at least some games come out. But the next time you see me, it will just be me. Probably. I can't believe I'm on corporate probation. What's next? They're gonna put a bag over my head and strap me to a chair and force me to watch cartoons? I've already got a bag. I might as well save them the trouble. Adult Swim will return in October. I mean, I hope it's October. I don't know how long I'm gonna be in this bag for. And also, the videos have been getting a lot of pushback from YouTube this year, so I don't want to make another red version, so I'm gonna... Hopefully it'll be out by October. Anyway, I'll see you on the other side. That is not what I thought it was going to smell like. I'm pleasantly surprised.